and to build on that. And in the US, there's a fast track to develop COVID product through the clinical development phase. Have you considered that or thinking about that?
No, we don't have enough funding presently to go further on the COVID product alone. We hope to have to trigger some partnerships by that time, but that did not happen. I think we're not the only one from what I can see in the news and in the. It's not an easy field. It's really a field where you need somebody who wants to run that fight. I mean, to get a non-Pfizer product further on the market, which I think is an issue in some instance. So we are putting our attention to the partnerships that we have in place, which are on antimicrobial applications, for which we have already very good results. But of course, we see and we believe in the value of what we have discovered and could still improve, and that seems to work eventually. And well, what we are missing is enough funding to go ahead on that project.
I understand.
Yeah, I have a question. David Allen in San Diego. What is the composition of your product? And you're using AI to identify the actives. But I saw at first you had 5 to 9 servings of fruits and vegetables up there on your screen. So can you tell me more about your composition?
Yeah, the whole idea of what we are doing is to bet that even that we can use safe botanicals in order to, by combining them in mixes, to get activity. So all the botanicals, I don't know them by heart, are botanicals that are on the positive list of food supplements for Europe. The exact composition, what we know is that, well, we know the composition, of course, but there are 2 that are of interest. One is Siberian ginseng, and the other one, sorry, it's a bit special for me here. They can carry claims that they contribute to improving your natural defenses. Doesn't mean much, of course, but these are the kinds of botanicals. Among them, there's green tea. It's not a big surprise. There have been data in the literature showing that green tea could interfere with COVID development in vitro. But there are a few others also which are not known for any effect in it. And the composition has also antimicrobial activity, and so it's protected by composition by our first patent.
Thank you.
Excellent, excellent work.
Steve,
yes.
Let me read a question from the chat, then I will let you ask.
Okay.
Okay. So Pascal, the acute COVID and the long COVID may have a different pathologies. How do you move forward on this?
Yeah, you are right. We cannot. We are betting on the fact that though the long COVID could be of many different causes, that is still due to cryptic expression of the virus. If this is not true, we might not have any activity, despite the fact that we have positive effects on the inflammatory response of patients. But this would be another mode of action. Here, what we see is that from the in vitro, it seems that we hinder at least and reduce the development of a virus, so we reduce the expression of the virus. So certainly we reduce the inflammation, part of it that it may have, and if it's a cryptic, if the symptoms are due to cryptic expression of a virus, we might have an effect. If it is not, we may not. So this is it can be of disputable, but I'm not sure anybody has really the response. And from some papers are going towards the direction that there's still the virus is still developing at a very low level, which could explain the symptoms.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Steve?
Yes, I think that's a very interesting application of AI. You often hear of AI being used even on the high throughput screening, but not necessarily on botanical application and the network medicine. And so I think that's a very interesting application. And also, when you look at long COVID, now here in the United States, the US government seems to be investing a sizable amount of money into studying long COVID. And I'm not clear on exactly how they're going about doing so, but they've allocated some $1.4 billion, and have also already activated one program here called Recover that looks at the long-term implications of COVID, and that they funded that program at some $480 million. So I'm not sure exactly how those programs are going to be evaluating therapeutics, if at all. But it's very curious. We are exploring how money is being invested in that domestically, and maybe somehow, because this product is an assortment of food products, food ingredients, somehow it may be able to make it into some of those evaluations. So it'd be curious to follow. Roger, we'll follow up with him and look more closely at this.
Thank you, Steve. Absolutely. Those are great products that we'll definitely follow up on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, then thank you, Pascal. And we're so glad to learn the advancement in the COVID area, which is everyone pay attention to, and we'll definitely get in touch. Thank you for your time. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right, next product presentation will be a product from Canada. Piers, are you on?
Yes.
Great, excellent.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Do you have my presentation, or do I just share the screen?
You can share your screen and talk through the slide.
Okay. How do I share the screen there, Roger? I'm trying to do that. And
there's at the bottom, there's a button called the share screen.
Oh yeah, I see it now. Okay.
Yeah, you click on that and select the window you want to share.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to share the screen. Why does it not work, Roger? It doesn't seem to work. Oh, there it is.
Okay, I'm sharing your screen. You can just talk through that.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, so thank you very much for having me. Normally, this presentation would have been done by Andre Boulet, who is our founder and chief scientific officer. I've joined Devonian Health Group, Canadian-based botanical company in in early September. So bear with me if you have any question related to the science behind the product. If I can't answer them, I will certainly bring it up with Andre, and we'll provide some answer for you shortly. So next slide, Roger, if you can. Thank you. Oh, wrong presentation. Next. Okay, Devonian is a Canadian leader in the botanical drug development, operating under the US FDA regulations. Our first lead product candidate was named Tycomin. It is a novel anti-inflammatory drug that's targeting unmet medical needs in inflammatory and autoimmune diseases. And shortly, I will demonstrate to you how we were able to develop a pipeline within this one drug that we've developed. Really, the heart and soul of Devonian relies on the innovative technology platform that resides in our state-of-the-art facility. It's all supported by worldwide patents, trade secrets, and backed by an experienced management team, not only with expertise in conducting clinical trials, but also bringing drugs to market. We consider ourselves a late-stage biopharmaceutical company, as Tycomin is really now ready to move to phase 3 trials in adult and phase 2 pediatric for mild to moderate atopic dermatitis. For those of you who don't know, the atopic dermatitis global market size is currently at about $11.8 billion US, and we expect to see this market double by 2026. While pharmaceutical is our main focus, Devonian is also engaged in developing cosmeceutical products, and we have discovered and developed a novel antioxidant named arspinazone, a product that is ready to go to market in 2023 under the brand name Pure Genesis. This product will be marketed in medical spa, derm clinics, by distributors in both Canada, US, and the Arab Emirates. We expect to generate revenues with Pure Genesis starting in 2023. The company primary objectives would always be product research and development. Of course, we will scout for potential partners to license out our products for commercialization purposes, and with big pharma with a global footprint. Next slide. So that's one exactly. Nope. This previous one. Sorry.
This one, next one.
There was a previous one that it's okay. Don't worry about it. Okay, so let's talk about. Oh,
sorry.
You're there. No, up. Exactly. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's talk about Tycomin. The code name for Tycomin was Pure 0110. And the drug is targeting several inflammatory and autoimmune diseases. It's really extracted from organic baby spinach, but we can extract the product from any green leaves type product, but we've elected to use organic spinach because we have a reliable supply chain with a producer based in the US. The lead indication for our products is mild to moderate atopic dermatitis. We have proven efficacy and safety results in phase 2 clinical study that supports the potential for Tycomin to be a first-line therapy treatment, and we're now ready to move to phase 3. We also looked at additional dermatological and inflammatory disorders like hand-and-foot syndrome that's associated with chemotherapy, and radiodermatitis, again, that's associated with radiotherapy with cancer patients. Some of the key upcoming events that we'll attend is our phase 2 clinical adult atopic dermatitis studies will be featured in a peer-reviewed journal with a special edition related to atopic dermatitis. We'll also be presenting Andre Boulay, our CSL, will be presenting at the 6th Dermatology Drug Development Summit in Boston this coming November. And we'll initiate a phase 2 clinical trial in pediatric population starting in Q1 of 2023. Next. So let's look at Tykemin. We consider Tykemin to be a best-in-class potential. It is really a pipeline within a product, as we believe a real opportunity for a product to treat several autoimmune and inflammatory diseases. This was clearly proven with the result posted in our phase 2A clinical trials in ulcerative colitis and phase 2 trial in adults for mild to moderate atopic dermatitis eczema. So we had compelling efficacy from our phase 2 clinical studies. We know that we have a fast onset of action. The efficacy of our product was similar to the biotech products issued from chemical syntheses. We had a positive effect on pruritus associated with atopic dermatitis, which is a real challenge, with people suffering from eczema. I think I've lost my, there you go. We have a side effect similar to placebo. We expect to be approved for long-term use, which is not the case for many of the medication currently available at the moment. And we know that we'll have an expected high acceptance within the pediatric patient population. As mentioned, in our R&D relies on botanical drug regulation. So allow me to take you to Tykemin journey, what we call our journey from farm to farm. Next slides. Next one. Thank you. So our unique proprietary technology is protected by numerous patents, industrial secrets, and allows us to not only extract, but purify and stabilize components from plants. We deliver Tykemin, our novel anti-inflammatory drug. With Devonian's expertise and knowledge, we were able to establish a pharma-grade supply chain, allowing for full traceability from the seed to the pill. It's important to mention that Tykemin can technically be extracted from different green leaves, but we have chosen organic spinach because of our ability to secure a supply chain from a reliable grower. Next slide. Next slide, you see our facility located in Montmagny, Quebec. Our extraction facility we consider as one of the few buildings in North America when we can bring a plant from the outside, which is considered quote unquote dirty, and process it to the end up with almost a sterile product in the yard of the building. We have a supply agreement with Earthbound in California, which is one of the largest organic grower in North America, the largest grower of spinach for sure, with over 300 farms across the USA. As mentioned earlier, we established at Earthbound full traceability from seed to pill, and the FDA had told us that we are amongst leaders when it comes to traceability with these processes in place. As I've mentioned as well, we have patents for the extraction process itself, but also for Tykemin in various usage. As we progress in the development of Tykemin, we continue to file for more patents, and the most recent patent granted was for a cardiovascular application. We currently have one full set of equipment in our facility to do three extraction per week. Each extraction yields 92 kilograms of Tykemin powder, and 1 kilogram of Tykemin supplies 1 million tubes of 50 gram. We can scale up to 3 full sets of equipment, which will allow us to manufacture well over 37 billion tubes of 50 gram. Now let's look at some of the studies that we've conducted. And the first one, the phase 2A study, proof of concept study in ulcerative colitis. Next slide. Nope. Okay, it's not the same order. Okay, so look, if we look at if you look at our phase 3 trial preparation, atopic dermatitis in adults, we're ready to go for phase 3. We've completed our phase 2, as mentioned before. We are ready to go to a pediatric phase 2 trial in Q1 of 2023. And we're also going to look at two additional indications for our drugs with hand and foot syndrome and radiodermatitis. And the last one being completed the phase 2A studies with ulcerative colitis. And we would look for our partners to continue the development of Tycomin in ulcerative colitis to move it to phase 3 at one point. But the funding will be necessary. Significant funding will be necessary to get to that point. Next. I think you're using the old presentation. You're not using the one that I've sent you with 19 slides. So continue. Okay. So let's look at the mechanism of action. And we believe that we have the global inflammatory market is 130 billion, will be 130 billion by 2026. And we will be targeting with Tycomin multiple indications. We already know that we're very active in atopic dermatitis, but we could also look at psoriasis, gastrointestinal enterology with ulcerative colitis, phase 2A studies. We think that the drug could have an impact in rheumatoid arthritis. And of course, we know that we will soon start the trials to get an indication for radiodermatitis and hand and foot syndrome. And lastly, but surely, we have other applications in terms of different anti-inflammatory diseases. Next. So why have we focused on dermatology? We know that, or on Botanical, we know that the next wave in pharmaceuticals, are going to be coming from Botanical. There's new specific FDA regulation. The FDA has already approved a number of plant-based drugs. There's more than 800 new drugs, IND and pre-IND, that have been requested in the past years. The benefits of our drugs relative to chemical synthesized drug is faster preclinical development, a robust clinical program, benefits of a botanical complex over single chemical molecules. We will get a DIN designation the same way as traditional drugs are approved. The path to approval is less costly, and we could get up to 5 years of market exclusivity in the US and in Canada as well, with or without a patent. And we know that the drug is difficult and almost impossible to copy. So the generic entries are nearly impossible in this category. Next. So we will focus our target in areas of high value areas such as atopic dermatitis, which impacts 15 to 30% of children. We believe that we could get a leadership position opportunity, especially in pediatric. We know that the market is $21 billion by 2026. Ulcerative colitis is again affecting about 2% of the population. And in the US, it's a $10 billion market. Radiodermatitis and hand and foot syndromes, there is currently no effective topical therapies to treat these conditions. And we believe that we'll have a leadership position opportunity once we complete our phase 2 trials. 95% of patients treated by radiotherapy will get radiodermatitis. 60% of people treated for breast cancer and colon cancers, are afflicted by hand and foot syndrome. We know that the combined estimated market for these two indications are about $2.5 billion. And most of the products that are being used to treat these conditions are stemming from the OTC kind of marketplace. And there's nothing that's really effective to treat the conditions. Next. When we look at Tycomin, mild to moderate adult dermatitis represents 90% of the total eczema or atopic dermatitis market. There's 192 drugs in various stages of development. At the end of December, 14 drugs were in phase 3 trial, 68 drugs were in phase 2 clinical trials. We are now, 3 currently are under investigation for mild to moderate, and we're talking about the PAC 14028, Rhinestone with the SHR-0302, and of course, Tycomin, which is our drug, our own drug. Next. We know that mild to moderate atopic dermatitis is clearly an unmet medical need. Over 90% of patients claim that the current products that they use are ineffective. Topical continues to be the mainstay to treat mild to moderate atopic dermatitis, namely the topical corticosteroids. Emollient and sedative antihistamine need to be used conjunctively with current therapies, and there's still major side effects or warnings, with the current therapies, whether it be the topical corticosteroids that cause side effects such as thinning of the skins, the Elidel product by Bosch Health, which really has a black box warning and has been genericized for the past year. And lastly, Eucrisa, which causes itching and burning at the application site. When we compare Tycomin to these drugs, we know that we have an expected similar efficacy profile. We know that the product can be used without any moisturizers or any histamine. In our trial, we have proven that. And we expect, of course, a faster onset of actions and no need of major side effect as seen in our phase 2 trial. Our side effect profile was equal or better than placebo. Next. So let's look at the anti-inflammatory potential and the multiple indications for Tycomin. Next. In our phase 2 trial, which is a double-blind study against, we've tested three different dosages of Tycomin, 250 milligram in ulcerative colitis, 500 milligram, and 1,000 milligram in ulcerative colitis. You could see here that our drug showed very good results in green. If you could see green, after day 21, we've met the. Let me just refresh this 2 seconds. We've completed the phase 2 proof of concept with Tycomin, and we administered to patients in mild to moderate ulcerative colitis. The objective of the short study was mainly safety, but we had efficacy parameters as well. The study results demonstrated that the Tycomin is safe, but what truly caught the attention of the investigators, and regulator was the efficacy result. More so, a short period of time and with statistical significance, as seen in the graph on the right-hand side here. We could see it, that the efficacy of the drug after 21 days was far superior than placebo. Next slide. As part of our phase 2 trial, we measured many biomarkers, and it demonstrated that Tycomin has a major effect on inflammatory biomarkers within a short treatment period. It confirmed Tycomin has a positive effect on ulcerative colitis, specific biomarker, but also the general inflammation biomarkers. I would like to draw your attention to the first two, the CRP and the HC-CRP. The data was the foundation for the most recently awarded patent for cardiovascular application. Biomarkers were decreased by 80% compared to baseline. The result basically set the stage for other application, and that's when we embarked in a large-scale phase 2 trial in atopic dermatitis. Next slide. Our phase 2 trial was a 4-week. A phase 3 trial for the adult atopic dermatitis market was a 4-week multi-center, all-Canadian randomized double-blind vehicle control dose-ranging safety and efficacy study. We used 3 concentration of Tycomin, 0.5, 0.1, and 0.25. A total of 162 patients were recruited in 13 different centers across Canada. The primary efficacy endpoint defined as a change in the baseline investigator global assessment, which is the IGA score. We could see here the green line is our Tycomin 0.1%, which showed extremely good results compared to the other 2 dosages, and even more so compared to of course, compared to the baseline or placebo. Ticamin 0.1% was the most effective dosage, and this is the dosage that we will carry to our phase 3 trial. Next. Again, here you could see that Ticamin reaches the primary endpoint really quickly after 14 days, 21 days, and 29 days, significantly better in the blue than the vehicle or the placebo. So Ticamin reaches the primary endpoint prior to the timeline defined in the trial. We could see that, it showed, this is really showing a fast relief of symptoms in a quick amount of time. So we're looking forward to demonstrating exactly that in our phase 3 trial. Let's look at the secondary endpoint now, which is important as well. We would be remiss not to mention that Ticamin also met the secondary endpoint, and we could see this from this graph. If you look at the green line after 29 days, and this is, of course, the baseline, we could see that the drug has met its parameters in secondary endpoint, and that solidified a readiness once again to move to phase 3 trial. Ticamin demonstrated to relieve itching as well, and which is extremely important, as this is one of the major side effects of eczemas. Most people will have to use emollient or an antihistamine to take care of the itching part of the disease. As well, we could see that there was little to no major side effects with Ticamin compared to placebo. Next. So let's look at the efficacy rate similar to drugs derived from chemical syntheses. Although these were not head-to-head trials as of yet, we wanted to compare our findings with what was reported with other drugs for the same indication, and concluded that Ticamin reached the equivalent efficacy rate as any other chemically synthesized drugs. Two important notes. If you're concerned that some of the results, if you look at the numbers here, 38, 32, and 34. So let's look first at the TRP1 antagonist. We could see that an antagonist reported 38% efficacy. However, the trial period was over 8 weeks, whilst our trial was over a 4-week period. And we believe that if we had conducted our trial for the same duration, that our results would have been at least that, if not more than 38%. The other, the calcineurin inhibitors, which is over here at 34.8, showed an efficacy of almost 35. However, in this case as well, the parameters was only the IGA score of 0 to 1, and not included a decrease of 2, which was the case for Ticamin, weakening, of course, the value of their efficacy result. Next. So when we look at the efficacy and safety of Ticamin, we certainly demonstrated the efficacy and safety of the product in 2 distinct therapeutic indications. One, atopic dermatitis. We showed fast onset of action. Primary endpoint were met earlier. The impact on symptoms, primary, secondary efficacy endpoint met after 4 weeks of treatment. There were no serious adverse event, and we know that we are now ready to move to phase 3 trial. In ulcerative colitis, we showed fast onset of action, impact on symptoms after only 14 days of treatment, no serious adverse event, a decreased inflammatory and disease biomarker, and the feasibility conducted a far larger sample size in phase 2B study once we get the appropriate funding. The anti-inflammatory efficacy and safety of Ticamin was demonstrated in 2 distinct therapeutic indications and 2 different mode of administration. One was, of course, the cream, and the other one was an enema in the case of ulcerative colitis. Next. So we believe we're all in place to go from farm to farm. We have a unique extraction process and methodology backed by patent and industrial secret. We have Ticamin, which is an outstanding anti-inflammatory effect with proven results in 2 different indications. We have proven the efficacy success rate in atopic dermatitis compared to chemically synthesized drugs. We know we're ready for phase 3, which will set the stage for a global market entry. We will have a DIN application, and the reimbursement status of our drug will be comparable to traditional drugs. So let's see how we can unblock the multi-billion-dollar market for Tycomin. Next slide. Next. So how do we maximize the high value market? We will certainly look at atopic dermatitis. Again, this is a problem that affects 15 to 30% of children, as stated before, and it's a $22 billion market by 2026. Currently, about $11.7 billion. So the market is genericized and is consisting most specifically of topical corticosteroid and calcineurin inhibitors, mainly Elidel, which is estimated to be stable now at 2.5 billion. You know, just as an example, Eucrisa, which is a Pfizer drug, was acquired in a deal with Anacort worth $5.2 billion. Pfizer estimated the peak annual sales for that drug to be $2 billion. So again, next. We think we have all the right ingredients for success: a unique position in North America botanical pharmaceutical drug development. We have a faster economical preclinical development process. 3, we have Tycomin as an outstanding anti-inflammatory effect with proven results in 2 indications. 4, near-term value creation opportunities for large pharma. Lastly, a management with solid track record of execution. Thank you for your attention, and I open the floor for some questions.
Thank you, Errol, for the presentation. And does the slide capture all the slides you intend to?
Yeah, and in fact, you had more slides than we've used a previous deck. Roger,
Okay.
that's not a problem.
Okay. Yeah.
It made my life a little more complicated, but that's okay.
Okay. So I saw you have a beautiful facility. Is that facility dedicated to your product, or
Yes.
you also use the facility for other companies' production?
No, we only use it for our product. That's where we produce our clinical trial, products, so again, we use a very small percentage of that facility. We could easily triple the we could scale it up, like I said, to produce significantly more, but right now we're only using it to produce our clinical trial products.
Great. I know others have questions. My last question is, you're applying for the US FDA Botanical Drug Regulatory filing. What is the case in Canada regulatory filing compared with the two?
It's actually very similar to the US. In Canada, we have what we call data protection. So if you're first to launch in a specific category, you get 6 years exclusivity on your drug, and if you do a pediatric trial, you could get up to 8 years of market exclusivity.
That's wonderful. Steve, you have a question?
Very, very good presentation. Excellent product. I'm willing to bet that the botanical version of a treatment for atopic dermatitis is going to be more well received than the steroids. I think there's tremendous upside potential there if indeed the product is, of course, marketed as such. Are you all working with any pharmaceutical companies in terms of positioning your phase 3 now that you're done with your phase 2?
Good question. I'll first cover the issue of I think your first question was related to we haven't really scouted the pharma business yet, okay, because we wanted to complete our phase 2 trial first, and we are now looking at a third round of financing to move to our phase 3 trial program. So we've not really approached any big pharma. But we, our the key opinion leaders, key dermatologists, world-renowned dermatologists that were involved in our clinical trials have all mentioned that they believe that Tycomin could replace, first-line therapy. They could replace the corticosteroids. I mean, they were very excited when they saw the results of Tycomin, and they think that, because we have a fast onset of action, because we take care of pruritus, and because because we're so safe, when you compare the results obtained against placebo, that we could be used for long term, which is, as you know, which is not the case for corticosteroids, which can only be used for 4 weeks. And like I said, the children's are the most
children,
affected
the
with
children,
26.
absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So we think we could be, first line treatment, in the pediatric population, with like
That's outstanding. Have you looked at eczema at all as an indication?
well, eczema and atopic dermatitis, it's the same thing. I mean, like it's like eczema and atopic, it's like atopic dermatitis is eczema, so that would be our indication, right?
Wow, that's tremendous. Outstanding. I like your decision to go with the baby spinach, the organic baby spinach as a standardized input. I'd be very curious to work with you further. Yeah, Roger, we'll circle back to this gentleman as well. How much are you looking for your phase 3?
We are looking for, roughly, I mean, we want to do 2 phase 3, one in Canada and one in US. So we're looking between $15 to $30 million to cover the phase 3 trial.
I was gonna 18 to 30.
The reason why, Steve, we focused on dermatology is the cost of the clinical trials are far less expensive than it would be, for instance, for ulcerative colitis. An ulcerative colitis clinical trial will be $300 to $400 million easily. And so we believe that, that's basically, we're at a stage now where we're looking for additional financing to move from our phase 2 atopic dermatitis trial to move it to the phase 3. We think that the result we've obtained in our phase 2 trial would be replicated easily in the phase 3 trial with a lot more patients, of course.
Very, very interesting. Very interesting. Look forward to working with you more.
Same
Talk
here.
soon. Thank you.
Okay. Question here. Do you also have a nutraceutical strategy for your product to generate revenue? I know that you're doing the skincare to generate revenue to help fund your studies, but I just wondered about that. I worked with a company years ago out of Sweden that actually used a Spanish product called Thylakoids that was good for appetite control.
Okay. The short answer to your question is no. We haven't looked at that. We really want to concentrate on dermatology right now, and we also, as stated in my presentation, we also believe that Tycomin has an enormous potential to treat many other autoimmune and inflammatory diseases as well beyond dermatology, and we've proven that in our phase 2A trial with ulcerative colitis. Yes,
well, Andre is certainly a pioneer in botanical drugs.
So you know Andre, okay?
Yes.
He is.
Yeah, but he's a friend of Roger. Roger's the one that introduced me to Andre.
Well,
Roger.
Andre and I have worked together for a number of years previously, and I joined the company recently. We've started, I've known Andre for 30 years or more. So he's a real good scientist.
Yes.
Great. And there's a question from the audience. So it's one for product, Perry, and do you think developing into another indication called, I even could pronounce psoriasis, RA, might be something? Steve, you want to pronounce?
Are you talking about rheumatoid arthritis or
the eczema?
eczema for sure. Eczema is our main indication.
That's excellent. Yeah. So
That is.
Yeah. You
I
know,
mean,
a couple
I don't know anyone suffering from eczema that has had an effective therapy experience.
Well, as I've stated, Steve, like over 90% of patients that are currently suffering from the disease claim that nothing that they've used, whether corticosteroids or calcineurin inhibitors, or nothing seems to satisfy the patient. So really, this is a huge unmet medical need at the moment, and there are over 30 million patients in the U.S. suffering from eczema. Believe it or not, I mean, it's a huge population.
Indeed, indeed.
Like I said, 15 to 30% of children, and with adults, it's almost 10%.
And some of it is quite severe.
Oh,
and problematic to the patient.
Well, severe is about 10%, but I would say that the biggest market is the mild to moderate market, because I would say in children, newborns, probably I would say almost like 15% of newborns are born with some form of eczema. So and we believe that with the safety profile of our drug, that we would be approved for 3 months or older. So
that'd be awesome.
Infant status, yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah,
very interesting. We'll talk more.
Thank
Very
you.
soon.
Thank you so much. I have
Very
to go.
soon.
Thank you, Roger,
Great.
for fitting me in before
Thank you.
1 o'clock. I
Thank
appreciate
you for the
that.
time and
Okay.
great presentation. Take care.
Thank you.
Okay, the next we're going to have a open discussion about developing already known safe and efficacious herbal medicine into botanical drugs. So I'll just spend a couple of minutes to go through the logics, and we'll open up for open discussion. So we know that US FDA botanical drug development guidance, the key points are the plant mixture is allowed, no requirement for mechanism of action, no requirement of molecule structure, and no requirement of identifying active ingredient. Although all those are encouraged, but it's not actually required. As long as botanical products like herbal medicines demonstrate safety and efficacy in phase 1, 2, 3 clinical trials, they are approved as prescription botanical drugs. So for botanical products that may already exist in markets outside the United States, taking them to the US market might be a pathway for drug development, because on the market outside the United States, then their efficacy, safety may already be tested or demonstrated in the daily use. Examples for those botanical drugs in the US, the first one is the Verogen, which is the, traditionally from the tea component. It's indicated for, for the, I think it's indicated in the US for the waltz and its tropical form. In the US, currently, there are about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 botanical drugs approved on the US market. And probably 2 are very known to many people, and the rest a little bit unknown. This is a chart to demonstrate their current status. And overall, there are about over 40 botanical drug IND applications each year. And by the 2019, there's over 800 botanical IND applications under FDA reviews. Over 60% were allowed into the clinical development. And the others, the rest 40% will request to providing additional preclinical data, like the safety data, and quality control active ingredient, the quality control requirements. The herbal medicine for botanical drug, because FDA allow plant mixture, so it's open doors, because traditional herbal medicines is not just a purified single molecule. It is from one herb or from multiple herbs, mix them together. And the previously used safe herbs have an advantage. FDA is saying that some of the safety evidence already existed, may be able to use as evidence in the preclinical, pre-IND, and phase 1 trials. The GMP requirement, it doesn't start until like phase 2 trials, and complete CMC information, and it's required before phase 3. So when you do the preclinical, pre-IND, phase 1, 2, the CMC information, maybe if you don't have complete that, that's okay. You continue to develop CMC information up to the point you want to initiate your phase 3 trials. That alleviates lots of burdens in the early drug development of botanical drugs. The quality control is required before phase 3 initiation as well, same as the CMC. And the botanical, people are saying that, well, if my product is botanical drug, will I have disadvantage once being approved in the market? No, because the concept of botanical drugs only exists in the FDA IND applications. Once it's on the market, doctors, patients, insurance companies, they only care about indication, safety profile, and the price. No one really know what's the ingredients in it, whether it's a chemical drug or botanical drug. So there's no disadvantage. Maybe there's an advantage, because in this current atmosphere, people willing to have a healthy life. So the botanical product may, as long as indication is there, efficacy is there, and the low safety profile may present an advantage. So the safe and effective herb formulas have a high chance to succeed in clinical trials, because we only select already known products outside the United States to develop them into botanical products, drugs. We are not to develop a brand new formula or to purify ingredients from the herb. Here is a comparison chart of the advantage of developing oral medicine versus synthetic drugs. So if we purify a single molecule from a herb and then develop that molecule to a drug, that is a synthetic drug process. And we know that this new drug screening stage will take about 3 to 5 years. The success rate is very low. It's about 1 over 5,000. In the pharmaceutical company, they have a robot to do the chemical screening. They have a standard, either tissue or something, to test all kinds of chemical in that. It's a long process and very expensive. Now we're developing herbal medicine, herbal botanical drugs. We don't need to purify those active ingredients. We just treat the formula as a whole. The next one is the preclinical. For the chemical drugs, the preclinical, the in vitro, in vivo, pharmacokinetics, pharmacodynamics, those animal toxicology, it takes up to more than a year, and success rate is 1 over 200. And the clinical development for phase 1, 2, 3, and it's adding up to up to 5-10 years, and success rate is 1 over less than 20%. And the final approval, because of the chemical drugs, they're getting more the safety profile, sometimes getting them fail at the last step. So overall, the chemical drugs development cost about 5 to 15 years, and it's 1 over 6 million or even 25 million chance to success. In contrast, developing already known effective herbal medicines, there's no requirement of drug screening because we're picking those herbal medicines that showing efficacy and safety outside the United States. Then we can reduce the preclinical phase because lots of data has been accumulated outside the US. We can reuse them for the US FDA application. Because the safety are there and the safety data outside the US may be used to reduce the requirement for phase 1 clinical trials. So phase 1 clinical trials may be shortened or waived by the FDA. And high success rate because we're picking those known efficacious herbal medicines in developing those. The success rate in the late stage clinical trials would be much, much higher. And there are abundant resources, from the Asia, Europe, South Africa. There are traditionally many herbal medicine that's being used in daily life and being used on the market. And it's abundant to choose from to develop. So that's the concept, and and open up to everyone, the voice of opinion and to share their experience. Feel free to. Steve?
Yeah, I happily give some feedback on this. I very happy to see all your slides. Given that I have more or less the same in our investor presentation and depending on the length of it, and I of course share totally your view, which I developed independently before I found out that there is the American Botanical Drug Association, and I'm very happy that you exist and that I hope you can help us in this. One of the issues that causes a difficulty to us is that both pharma and cosmetic industry and self-care industry is very reluctant to go towards botanical drugs as such. And it's good to see that you cited Johnson & Johnson and a few others that develop botanical drugs. And so it's difficult for a company like us, and seeing her the presentation, I guess it's more or less the same for Devonian, is that it's difficult to get backing by the validation in some sense by big players. And this is something that makes it difficult to find novel resources to go forward in the development. Among our shareholders, which are business angels, some of them have quite deep pockets, but the main question is that if what we are doing is so great, and we have also clinical results on eczema on product that we are doing that, and that is available as a cosmetic in Europe. It makes it difficult to get funding just because there is no interest shown by big industry. For us, it's only very recent. That means the last months that we could get into some partnership and recognition from cosmetic players. You would think these ones would be keen to go into it, but until very recently, they were all on, as they called it, precision cosmetics. And so what's really missing is backing, or a confirmation and a validation of the interest for botanical drugs. Is there an exit when you invest in a botanical drug company like Alphanosos, or I guess Devonian seems to be the same? Is how will they exit is basically their question. And for us, it has been a blocking, and I hope that now that we have the first partnerships with knowledgeable large companies, but not in the pharma field, only in the cosmetic and self-care field, I hope we will be able to go forward.
Yeah, very good comment,
Also,
Pastor.
but in the European Union, something like botanical drug is just not existing, not in the regulation. It doesn't exist. Either you have a traditional drug, botanical drug, or you have a single molecule. Something in between, they do not even consider.
Yeah, very good comment, Pascal. I just put on the slide, I want to give a little bit the background about why the FDA putting on the botanical drug guidance. As you said, the big pharmaceutical company, they have been developing so fast in the past 40 years, but about 10 years ago, the pipelines start to dry up. So they developed a model to in-licensing product on early stages. So you see lots of smaller chemical research company that develop indications, right? And then sell those drugs to big pharma, or license them and make profit. So why they're not in-licensing botanical drugs then? We do not know, but my assumption is they don't have personnel or experts within their company to evaluate those products, because their mindset is for a structure of the molecule. If you don't have a structured molecule, the question about how do I protect my intellectual property? How do I make sure the quality of the batch consistent with each other? They have all those kind of questions, and no one within the company is telling them those are manageable challenges, and herbal medicine can be an efficient drug development pathway. But overall, they're looking for wonderful product to in-license. So our model is I think it's still valid, that we generate enough interest, like phase 1 data, and to looking for a big pharma to in-license our product and make forward. We don't have enough resources to develop phase 1, 2, 3 and push into the market. We're really looking forward to global collaborations with big pharmas, on that purpose. And right now, you're right. No one has doing the big in-licensing right now. For the front runner of the Chinese medicine product treating heart problem, they partner with a company in the US for the phase 3 trial development. So the company is a small company, it's not a big company, but they gave about $15 million up front, with about 40% revenue sharing, and to basically take a significant portion of the drug equity and then putting money down to develop phase 3 trials for that drugs. And I know for the other Chinese botanical drugs that enter phase 2 right now, they are doing the collaboration with other entities in the US for that as well. So at early stage, somehow we have to find a funding to do that, but later on, out licensing is the business model to move forward. I know many products here are looking for that out licensing opportunities, and Steve, David, and Parade, I see you just joined. Feel free to comment on.
Hi, did you call me out?
Yes, yeah. I think you have a wonderful product that you are presenting 10 minutes, and you're looking for out license as well, or you're looking for to develop yourself.
Well, we are developing up to a point ourselves, but we are also looking into licensing as well. I've been hearing this wonderful commentary that people have been giving. My thinking is that I think big pharma may be slowly opening up in terms of their thinking for the following reasons. As someone mentioned, the pipeline is dry. Secondly, I think despite all the focus on CRISPR and gene therapy and cell therapy, I think people recognize for complex diseases, targeted therapy alone don't cut it. And people are looking at combination therapeutics. So when you look at a combination therapeutic, botanical drugs are ultimate combinations and well tested by nature. Now we have to refine them and do it. So my feeling is that when we have taken an approach like that to present our drugs as a combination therapeutic, working on multiple different things, I've been able to make some opening, and there is more receptivity when you present it that way. But I had a question for the audience, the people who are here. When we talk about pharma companies, generally we are talking about Western pharma companies. I know we heard the one case of Chinese pharma company, but what about, I understand in Korea, in Japan, there are a number of companies that traditionally work in a botanical drug or chemical medicine or TCM. And then also even the large pharma have a portfolio of both the synthetic molecules as well as the botanical drugs. Has anybody has any experience working with them? Are they more receptive than, I say, typical Kendall Square company in Boston?
We talk to nearly every pharma company in the world, many mid to large ones, and there's no reception basically in Japan, neither for ones that we talked with. It's also that very often you speak with middle management whose mission is to find a novel antibody, a novel CRISPR, something. And so, and when you say the pipeline is dry, those guys at the very top, they know the pipeline is dry, and they would eventually be receptive to botanical drugs with a good level of demonstration, as several of us have already, as to at least go in early. Of course, but you don't reach these guys. I could reach a former CSO of a very large top 10 pharmaceutical company, and he said, "Yeah, what you're doing is great. We see that there's a big potential in there, and but so far we were not able to tackle it. We for instance, it's a long time ago now, but he said we were aware that garlic is definitively demonstrated clinically as good for heart problems, which is known by everybody. It's a big deal. But he said, but when we tried to find out the active principle, and we didn't find any. So no single molecule extracted from garlic was presenting any of the effects that they could measure from the whole garlic. And so they didn't go further. And so the issue is to reach high enough in a pharma company who has a dry pipeline, who is concerned by it, and they would be receptive. But you don't reach these guys. You reach only middle management who is looking for a novel chemical entity or for a novel antibody.
No, a fair point. I think, but this challenge is in any business. I think this is the world we are living in, and I think we need to find out a different way of either reaching those people or find a different way of financing these companies, because we all believe, and I firmly believe after spending some years here doing this thing, that there is tremendous potential and science is solid. It's a matter of up to us. If I take a first success, now GW Pharma had a good success, and I think some people are noticing that. So I think Jazz bought them for a significant amount of money. And someone just showed a slide a little while back about 5 or 6 drugs developing. So I think until I don't expect the road to be smooth. That if you have a cell therapy company, even if you have in vitro data right now, the people are really welcoming open arms. I think that won't happen to us anytime soon. But I think it takes few successes and perseverance on our side to figure out, be creatively finance a company. And you know what they cannot do is that nobody can argue with the data. So once we get the data, clinical data particularly. So Pascal, I hear you completely. They also told me that a great idea, great product, all that thing. Come back after you are complete proof of concept. I said, of course. So, but yeah, we'll have to work with it.
I agree. I think that there's a dearth of misinformation as well. There've been challenges, as has been mentioned today, that have been promulgated throughout the botanical drug development experience that we're able to address today, and people don't know it. And I think that getting that message to the right people is going to be a big part of it. But I do believe that the big pharma are looking at it because, you know, we're in an information era now. So they see that between dietary supplements, as well as the nutraceutical industry, they see that the patients are going in that direction. And so I'm willing to bet that they're going to begin to look at the botanical sector as their way of hedging against the nutraceutical and being able to meet them head on, which they're traditionally known for doing.
True. So that is true, and big pharma would. But I think one thing we can all have to think about is the alternate source of funding. There are foundations out there. There are patient advocacy groups. There are philanthropists who don't care about whether which technology. They don't care about technology, but rather other results. And I think we need to be more creative on that one. And by the way, in the venture capitalist world, also in a pharma, at least in the Boston area, I can say that most of the large VC funds have become incubated by themselves. And this is not on the radar right now. So there are second level of VC firms, but they are not leaders, they are followers.
Correct. No, you're absolutely right. The research is showing that pharma is not going to take the lead on this from a financial perspective. But they will follow suit once the data is in and we are able to get certain products out to shoot into the marketplace as well. We'll talk. There are some we're looking at doing some innovative things in terms of maybe even creating a unique network of botanical drug manufacturers and creating an independent pharmacy benefit administration unit that gets them into the marketplace. So there are ways these days to truly get to market without big pharma, and that may be an option as well. Like you say, if you can get the financial support, you can get into the marketplace. You can get your product into the clinics.
Yeah, I think also that it's important that with this COVID-19 pandemic, it's accelerated the ascendance of health and wellness as a dominant consumer value all around the world. And consumers are increasingly aware that all aspects of their lives, where they live, how they work, what they eat, how they exercise, socialize, and travel, impact their health outcomes. And I think that we're going to return to the pre-2020 level of demand. So, the question is, what is the new normal? And I think that more and more people are going to be demanding safe botanical products and drugs once people understand that botanical drugs are an alternative to pharma. Because, of all the side effects. And even now with the vaccine that have been out there for a while now, there's a lot of side effects of those vaccines that's going to start to come out. And so I think we should be very optimistic right now, this time in our evolution, because for the next 5 years or so, experts project that the global wellness economy will grow at a robust rate of around 9.9% annually. And it's expected to reach up to 5 trillion in the 2023. So I'm very optimistic that the funding will start to appear for these incredible botanical drug products. I mean, you all have done some exciting work on your products. So that's my take on it right now. I think that these are exciting times. So don't get down about not being able to get the funding that you need for these incredible projects. I think it's going to be there.
I agree.
And that's one of the reasons that we're doing a botanical drug fund as well. So we're optimistic.
Indeed.
Thank you. Thank you.
Pascal, you have a question?
Yeah, if it's for me, I think that what David Allen said is really true. I think we are in the same situation as was the electric car industry 15 years back or so. And what needs to come is that at some point there is some guy who says, fuck them all, and I do that botanical drug industry. It's better, it's good for the planet, and I'll do it. For the car industry, it was whatever one can think about on other aspects, but it's Elon Musk who launched, really made electric car industry a reality. Before that, no, the car industry didn't care. And we are in the same situation with the botanical drugs. It needs somebody who has deep enough pockets, who brings a first product on the market. Could be in eczema, it could be on other things. And once this is done, he will make a fortune, and the others will eventually follow. But until then, it will be very, very difficult. And that's why we are looking to work with the cosmetic and self-care industry, who starts for the reasons that David Allen said, because of the COVID crisis, because of the consumer who are looking for green products now and natural products. They are paying attention, but this is very, very new, because we have been talking with the same people 2 or 3 years back. They said, no, we are not interested in botanical products, even for cosmetics. Of course, they like to have that flower and for marketing reasons, but not for efficacy reasons. And this is new, that they are looking for efficacy now.
Pascal, you reminded me of something very interesting in a lighter vein. If anybody remembers the battle of VHS tape and beta tape, and both of them came at the market at the same time, everybody wanted Hollywood, in this case, did pharmaceutical industry to adopt it. But instead of pharmaceutical industry, they went to the pornographic industry and they adopted it fast. So in your case, cosmetic company could be a side company like a pornographic in that kind of battle, and they adopt it. You require a first adopter, and that's what you're trying to do, which is great.
Yeah. So even though we know the difficulty and the challenges around, but think about other alternative. If we stay with health dietary supplement, you cannot claim disease treatment, right? So it's very crowded space, and you don't get attention. The profit margin is so low, and the cost is not that low. So dietary supplement, it's difficult too. It's easy to enter, but there's no enough monetary returns. What else you can do? So, and on the other side, like hemp products, FDA has told the hemp industry to come into the botanical drug IND channel if they want to add disease claims to it. So gradually people will know more about the botanical drugs IND process. And if they think about the hybrid development model, which they spend some money on early stage, get enough evidence, then big pharma pick on to do the expensive clinical trials, there will be a healthy model for everyone. Right now, we don't have the pharma coming in yet. So lots of us are bearing the burden to find the funding source ourselves and to generate enough evidence. And we are struggling right now, but what else we can do? The farmer is looking for product. If the chemical pathway continue to be a challenge for them, they have to look elsewhere. So don't be too discouraged. I think this is a platform for us to demonstrate the potential of those products, and we put online, we spread the messages, and we will attract attentions. So continue on, and one for product will eventually get attentions. That's on my comment.
Great.
Okay, excellent, everyone. So the next presenter will be honored to have Dr. Hamta, right?
Parag Mehta. Parag Mehta.
And he will present a product. I think a few years ago, I saw the news, a talk about the UCLA Medical School research team about head and neck cancer. And today we're so privileged to have you. and take on that.
Thank you, and thank you very much, Roger, for inviting me yesterday to make a presentation here. I'm happy to be here in this company. How do I make a presentation? I should be able to share my screen, right?
Yeah, you can share your screen and then talk through your presentation.
Yeah, let me do that. Can everyone see my PowerPoint?
It's coming up. It's set as okay. Yeah, we see it.
Okay, give me a second. So I think, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone. I'd love to talk to about our platform we have designed around the botanical drug origins. And I'll talk about all the assets we have, but we particularly focus on head and neck cancer, which is our lead program today. Since we are a Delaware C corporation, and we'll be raising capital, so there may be investors in the audience. So I would like to read out the safe harbor statement. Anything I say, you should do your own diligence before making an investment if you're considering. So let me give you an executive summary. So we are focused on orphan cancers right now. That's what I'm going to talk about today. But we also have a couple of other programs in a phase 2 ready asset for osteoporosis and osteoarthritis, which I will not talk about today, but just to let you know. Today we will talk about head and neck cancer and brain cancer. There are multi-billion-dollar opportunities. Both of them are highly unmet needs. And there are drugs, all right, but there are no FDA-approved drugs. They actually give a durable clinical response. And most of the people do not last very long on those drugs. We have taken a very different approach when we started a company. We ourselves are scientists and physicians and entrepreneurs, but I took a very different approach. Instead of building up a huge team, we partnered with a number of major schools for basic research as well as for clinical trials. And you can see the list. We are working with a number of those universities, as someone just mentioned, UCLA Medical School, Stanford, Harvard, Barrow, and the US Department of Veteran Affairs, UC Miami, Mayo Clinic, Nebraska, UC Nebraska, and most recently, UC Texas Medical School. We are focusing on IP, and we have some drugs in the various stages of prosecution. One drug is one patent is already approved. And our drug, our head and neck cancer drug, I believe is the first botanical drug to receive the orphan drug designation from FDA. And I believe it is fourth or fifth in the history of FDA to receive that one. We are currently looking about $10 million right now, and followed by two tranches of about 20 million or thereabouts each. And idea is to go make a public offering in about 24 months. And we'll also submit the NDA for a lead program within 24 months. And that will lead us to additional 2 programs in pivotal trials. So something about a company, we are based in Bedford, Massachusetts. We have created a very different platform. Most people typically take a single molecule from a plant or they get extract, but the way we are creating drug is quite different. I'll talk about it a little bit. And they are actually a design combination of molecules. And our goal is to be really a powerhouse for our next generation of botanical drugs. People ask me, what do we want to be when we grow up? And my simple answer is, maybe a bit of a hubris on our part, but there is no reason to believe that the botanical drug company cannot be the next big multi-billion-dollar pharma company. And because I think it is calling upon us that we need to do this because there's opportunity there and a promise of the drugs to bring it to the patients. So far, company has been funded by the management. We have an interesting investor syndicate, number of grants from the foundations, and some of our development partners put up some capital. Briefly, the team background, myself, I'm not a career pharma guy, but I'm a serial entrepreneur. This is my third company. In past, I've worked in different companies, but I happen to have a PhD in organic chemistry. That's kind of helpful in this drug business. Louis Avila is our VP of R&D. He's a career pharma guy. Right after finishing his postdoc at Harvard, he joined Focal and Genzyme and Sanofi. Bharat Tiwari, our board member, is a senior executive from pharma. He was a EVP at UCB and also SVP at Merck Serono. Guha is not in a pharma, but he understands chemistry well, and he's involved in the healthcare business. Otherwise, he's on a board of a hospital. I'm very proud of our advisory and clinical partnership board that we have assembled. These are all people who are extremely active in supporting various programs. I'll talk about that in a second. Nicole Shonka in Buffett Cancer Center, and June Hom at Mayo. They are a PI in one of our drugs that we are doing for glioblastoma. Ekokobi Fonkam is also a PI on one of the other drug for glioblastoma, along with Joshua Levy in Texas, Chirag Patel at MD Anderson. And then we have Marilyn Van, Dr. Srivatsan at UCLA, and Elizabeth Franzman in UC Miami. They are working on their PIs on our lead program, which is in phase 2 for head and neck cancer. Eugene Shaknovich and Daniel Hartel at Harvard, we have done some foundational work with them on showing why the multi-agent drugs are able to prevent the resistance in cancer. And John Kaminis is just another super guy, significant experience in pharma, good friend of mine, and as a very thoughtful advice for me. So when you talk about cancer, I think first, if you can back up for a second and think about why the cancer, despite all the money and effort devoted to cancer, why the burden is rising. And I think there was a wonderful essay in Wall Street Journal some time back. I think that sums it up pretty neatly. So Asra Raza at Columbia, she said that, first of all, we have to agree that whatever we're doing in cancer is all wrong. We have to come off our high horse and admit that. And her point was very, 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 very specific. We are going after a single agent drug, going after simple genetic mutation, but cancer is indeed way too complex to be able to reduce to such reductionism. And therefore, Jason Shelzer, when published the papers in 2019, it made it to New York Times. And he said, therefore, in cancer, 97% of targeted therapies fail in the clinic. Despite that, people keep doing the same thing again and again, and they get the same results. And it's up to us, behooves us, to break new ground. So why does that happen? See, if you look at this particular slide, on the left side, you see the tumor. Tumor is molecularly very heterogeneous. What typical single agent drug does, it only attacks on one particular kind of tumor cell. So what happens is that you get early response, but then under the evolutionary pressure, first of all, the sensitive tumor becomes resistant, it mutates, and the tumor cells which were not originally addressed, they start growing. And so therefore what happens is you have therapeutic failure. Now compare that with our plant-based drugs, and our plant-based drugs, and I explain in a second. What they do is, first of all, there are a number of molecules. Their ability to address tumor heterogeneity is much, much higher. Secondly, we are giving them in all the individual molecules on a low dose. And it's an amplification effect that you get by combination of those molecules. So what happens is that because each molecule is in a low dose, the tumor itself never faces evolutionary pressure to mutate. And therefore, the trajectory remains very as a drug-sensitive cell. Other important part in a tumor is that everybody focuses on a cancer cell, but we also look at the healthy cells, because the idea is that we have to rethink the whole. We don't have to annihilate every last cancer cell. Even if the few cancer cells are around, but you surround them by a significant number of healthy cells, which botanical drugs are very good at doing. If you do it, you arrest the cancer. And at worst, you make cancer like a diabetes or a heart disease. It's a chronic disease, but a person doesn't die from that. So that is our idea that we have translated into practice. And I think this was another interesting quote from Cassandra Kay at Emory. She said that if you look at my reading of her write-up is the following. Cancer at the end of the day is a biological problem. And there are many biological problems in nature, but nature solves the biological problem. But it does not solve by finding a silver bullet molecule. What it relies on many more compounds and interaction among them to solve the problem. And that's exactly what botanical drugs do. So what we do is we take these molecules, which are orthologous to human endogenous metabolites. Many of you here know probably that look at cellular machinery of the plant cell and human cell. The most of the proteins and enzymes are orthologous, meaning that there are the functional equivalent of that in a plant. So therefore, when plant molecules, when you look at that and do a structure comparison with the endogenous metabolite the body produces, they are significantly similar. So there is the idea that if you pick the molecules which are similar to human endogenous metabolites, it solves a number of problems that synthetic drugs have. You don't hit a metabolic dead wall. Yeah, you don't have a problem binding to the proteins, and you are able to counteract the higher order effects among the various mutated genes. So we are creating drugs like that, and we believe that I think these drugs can be developed at a much lower cost than typical synthetic modalities. all of our drugs are administered orally. We have, as a patented by, protected by the composition matter. And I think one of the things that many people in today's conference might be aware of it, but many people in other in pharma companies not aware the prevailing precedent that FDA has, and that is even better than any kind of patent protection you can get. So we have 4 INDs approved. Actually, 5. Fifth one I'm not shown here, but the 5th one is approved for graft-versus-host disease. And there is one more. We have a phase 2 ready asset for osteoporosis. We are working with 4 different plants, but the one I'm going to talk about is APG 157 program number 1 that we are in UCLA and Miami. Second one is also for a combining with Keytruda. First such a combination IND approved by FDA for combining with Keytruda. And then third and fourth that we are doing in a different cohorts of the glioma patients at Mayo and Nebraska and Baylor Scott and White in Texas. So let me walk you through our strategy, how we develop this particular drug. When you look at the head and neck cancer, what is currently going on, it's a pretty bad cancer. In US, 1 person dies every hour. And in India, it's every 10 minutes. I personally lost 5 people to head and neck cancer, so it's very close to my heart. If you look at it right now, most of the drugs are old drugs. The EGFR inhibitor, cetuximab, but barely works. Even the latest and the greatest checkpoint inhibitors have a very poor response. So essentially, all these drugs are generally only applicable at stage 3 and 4 or a metastatic patient. But for early stage, there are no drugs. And so we think that there is a great opportunity. There's essentially a wide field opportunity to play in a number of different areas within head and neck cancer. And so that's what we focused on. So when if you look at the head and neck cancer and look at the signaling pathways, it's fairly complex. To assume that we can go only after EGFR on the left side of the screen and we can inhibit that and stop the tumor, that is not a right thinking. And therefore, all these drugs generally fail to provide a durable response. So what we are doing is, and so if you look at the current drugs, they do one thing, they focus only on one thing, causing the cell death. And either chemotherapy or IO drugs or EGFR inhibitor, that's all they do. But what we are saying is that alone is not sufficient. If you really want to cure cancer, you have to think differently. And this is how we think. So what we do is our drugs also cause the death of the cancer, but very selective apoptosis of cancer of the cancer cells, and only focus on a BCL2 class of protein, just like a drug from AbbVie does. We also modulate NF-kappa B and P53. And we also stimulate the immune system by recruiting a TILs to the tumor. And those together cause the death of the cancer cell. But it's also important to prevent the progression of the cancer. It's not sufficient to just kill the cancer cells. And I think to do that, we have to look at it very differently. Chronic inflammation, and the first time we are looking at oral microbiome, because that plays a big role in this cancer. And oral microbiome or microbiome in general, I think is a fool's errand when people think they can find a single molecule drug and deal with that. It cannot be reduced to molecular target. And more importantly, in head and neck cancer, the recurrence rate is very, very high. So we have to prevent the recurrence if you want a durable response. And so EMI1 cancer stem cell play a key role in this one. And our drug also prevents or rather arrests the cancer stem cells. So drug is from a well-known plant. People here should know that, curcuma longa. And curcumin, everybody knows what curcumin is. There are million supplements with curcumin around. But curcumin is a wonderful molecule, but that's not the only molecule the plant has. It has 230 different molecules. And what we have done is we have taken very specific molecules and create our combination, rational combination. And they generally fall in 3 categories. There are non-flavonoid small molecules, there are flavonoids, and there are some macromolecules. And this is the first time we have created a drug that, so head and neck cancer, all the drugs that I mentioned, they are given IV. And despite the fact that oral cancer is one of the most accessible cancer after the skin cancer. And so we designed a drug in such a way that drug is encased in a pastille that slowly dissolves in your mouth, and drug gets directly absorbed in a tumor, as well as it gets into a systemic absorption by sublingual absorption. So it's a very unique drug, and very easy for patient to take it. So I'll walk through some preclinical results and then our phase 1 results and talk about our phase 2. So I won't belabor the point, but we have done enormous amount of preclinical work like anybody else would do in typical in vitro work, as well as new syngeneic mice xenograft. And I'll show some of the data right now. But suffice to say that we convince ourselves that drug is, when we design the drug by combining multiple molecules, including a lot of sequencing, and that that drug works. So that to convince ourselves in the preclinical work that drug really works. One interesting thing I want to talk about that. So I don't know if you know, but BCL2 class of protein, BCL2 inhibitor is the only apoptosis inhibitor approved by FDA. And Bob Horowitz at MIT got a Nobel Prize for it. I had a fascinating discussion with Bob on the drug that we have. And he also recognizes that if you only focus on BCL2, very quickly cancer is going to mutate and develop resistance. Ours is the only drug that simultaneously downregulates all the anti-apoptotic genes and upregulates all the pro-apoptotic genes. So this was not lost on Bob either, and he saw that, and he was quite pleased that we are doing that. So it's a very unique drug, and this kind of a thing is only possible with a botanical drug. Interestingly, we took our drug APG-157, and we did syngeneic mice. We did two interesting things. We have done a lot of studies, but I'm showing you one. When you look at a control and on the right side, the mice that got drug, yeah, we reduced the tumor and volume and weight and all that. But very interestingly, that we increased the recruitment of CD8 positive T cells in the tumor by giving the drug. And CD8 positive T cells, right from COVID to everything else, they are some of the best T cells that you want to have to protect yourself and to fight off the disease. And our drug was able to do that. I'll show you soon that it also does in human. And so one of the interesting things we did is, in addition to CD8, CD3 is a very important another TIL also. And as far as we know, both these lymphocytes are positively correlated with head and neck survival. And so if we can increase that, that is great. And we were able to do that. These are, as far as we know, this is the only drug that can do can upregulate both of them at the same time. Another interesting thing is that people talk about microbiome quite a bit. In particular, in cancer these days, when people are looking at the checkpoint inhibitors, it is found that checkpoint inhibitors work much better when there is a certain species are present in a microbiome of a patient. So what we did, we actually looked into the mouse microbiome during the study and found that this particular species, Akkermansia and Lectinospiraceae, which actually positively correlate with the effect of the immune system, by giving the drug, we were able to upregulate them. So this was just a data point in a mouse, but still very useful data point. So let me talk about this unique drug that we got IND approved. We have not started this particular trial yet, but I'll talk about it. So when checkpoint inhibitors work, one of the proxy for them in the in vitro study is interferon gamma. So you can see in this particular slide, the top two lines, blue and pink, interferon gamma does slow down the growth of tumor. But look at APG-157, the green and the brownish one that you see in the middle of the screen, they are much, much better than interferon gamma alone. And when you combine interferon gamma with APG-157, the effect is much better. But this was just a proxy to test for the actually in a living system how the drug will behave in combination with the checkpoint inhibitors. And then we actually did in the live animals the study. On the right side, you see that in the slide you can see that when you get checkpoint inhibitor by itself, NDPD1, very quickly tumor starts growing. APG-157 is much better than a checkpoint inhibitor, but when you combine both of them together, the results are significantly better. And this is very important because, and I think going back to earlier discussion we were having just before I started, one of the way I think we can convince big pharma is to show that where their drugs are falling short, and by combining with our drug, they can actually make their drug better. It's a Prius model, instead of directly going to Tesla, why don't you start with Prius and establish the value, and then you can go with the, and then you can develop your Tesla or a full-fledged botanical drug. So that was a part of the approach that we took in this study. Interestingly, what you see is, I think recruitment of CD4 and CD8 is very, very important for cancer. And you can see that on right side, again, by combining both the drugs, CD4 and CD8 T cells significantly improve levels of them. So let me talk about our neoadjuvant therapy for head and neck cancer. Right now, there is no FDA-approved neoadjuvant therapy for head and neck cancer. In some cases, people use cisplatin and Taxol and all those kind of things, but they are very toxic and doctors don't like to use it, but when they don't have a choice, they use it. So we did a 25-person study at UCLA, actually the VA hospital in Los Angeles. We tested 2 different doses, 300 milligrams a day and 600 milligrams a day. No safety event whatsoever. And we look at so we are doing 2 things in the study in the endpoints. One of the endpoint was to look and to prove out our hypothesis that we had in a preclinical, that if you're actually blocking P53, upregulating P53 and blocking NF-kappa B to cause apoptosis, then the downstream cytokine should come down. And that we wanted to see. And that is a proxy for killing of the tumor cells. We also wanted to see that what happens to CD8 positive T cells in actual patient. And we also wanted to first time test that in oral microbiome, are we able to reverse the dysbiosis of the oral microbiome? And we tested by 16S RNA sequencing, and we would do that. And then we did some other thing, which is very interesting, companion diagnostic test we came up with that using a cell-free RNA. And I'll talk about that too. So these are the patients. So if you look at this slide, right, on the green one is a placebo. In phase 2, we have no placebo. The phase 1, we had a placebo. Clearly, dose-dependent reduction, statistician told me that 25% reduction is considered significant, and we beat it, we hit it out of the ballpark. We did significantly more than 25% reduction of IL-8, IL-1 beta, and TNF-alpha, all 3 of them. So we are quite happy with that, and that shows that the tumor is breaking down. And I show another result why we believe the tumors are breaking down. This is a very interesting study. So we took a patient, this is a floor of the mouth stage 4 cancer. And if you look at the left side, before the drug was given, the biopsy was done, immunohistochemistry was done, there are hardly any T cells in the tumor tissue. On the right side, what you see in immunofluorescence, that after giving the drug, there are plethora of T cells infiltrating the tumor, which is very, very good. And so that's what our PIs are telling me, that it's very good, and they are quite excited about it. I'm not an immunohistochemist, so I can't explain more than that, but I think that's what I was told. Other interesting thing we did, that we are actually in a similar immune system. How do we know that? So apart from looking at the immunohistochemistry, what we did was that when tumor cell breaks down, all the debris of that one are picked up in a systemic circulation in blood. So what we did, we collected patients' blood, and we identified the cell-free RNA, which are involved in transcription of those proteins, and we find out the leukocyte activation is happening. And so that exactly is indirect, or rather direct explanation of the both system, immune system activation, also in the breakdown of the cancer cell. We also see the same thing specific to T cell. I can't explain this slide, but there are others in our company who can. And what I've been told is that, again, in the same test, the plethora of abundance of T cells are recruited to tumor. So that was done. Another interesting thing that we are looking into that, and we always know food as the medicine. And as I come from India, in many traditional system of medicine, they say that a microbiome, your stomach, everything. If your stomach is healthy, then you'll be disease free. And I think what they're referring to that in this traditional doctors talk about it, I think they're referring to microbiome. So a microbiome does not only start in the gut, it starts in the mouth. And there are fascinating papers from Taiwan and from NYU that said they correlated the changes in a bacterial level or a microbe level in a oral cancer patient, particularly bacteroidetes, livers increase and firmicutes decrease. So our therapeutic goal ought to be reversing that ratio. And that exactly the first, so everybody says you should do that, but nobody actually developed a drug to actually do that. And so what we did was we tested them. And on the left side, you see the placebo. Placebo has some effect, only because that you are disturbing the microbiome by putting the pest in your mouth. But look on the right side. by changing the firmicute to bacterial rate ratio, I think 100 milligram 3 times a day is a significantly more than a 22%, 82%. But 200 milligrams 3 times a day as the highest change is able to affect. We have a lot more data on this one too, but this is just a very high level summary of that. And we are quite pleased with this result. So in our head and neck cancer phase 2, what we are doing right now is that typically when patient comes in, patient is stage TNM staging is given. And in US and in Europe, most places, the patient does not get any kind of definitive therapy for 4 to 8 weeks. And during that time, cancer grows by about 1.8% per day. So if you can imagine, in 4 weeks, by the time patient even gets around to getting any kind of treatment, cancer would have gone by 40–50%. So and right now, patient is just getting sicker. So this is the first induction therapy that we came up with, where the goal is to stop the cancer right there and doesn't grow anymore, and better yet, reduce the tumor burden. So even if the patient undergoes a surgery at that point, the surgical resection is much smaller. And this is a very unique trial. Usually, as you know, in cancer, FDA only gives you approval in end-stage patient, the hopeless population or hospice population. Very rarely, FDA gives you approval for testing in a frontline setting. So when we did some study in a phase 1, we went back to FDA, and FDA gave us a frontline setting approval where this is given before any kind of a definitive therapy is given. And we are going with the same gold standard primary endpoint, objective response rate using a PERSIST and RECIST. And we are also looking at a number of other secondary endpoints that I mentioned in a microbiome and a T cell recruitment. So we are doing that, and except with the exception of patient with the metastasis, all newly diagnosed patients are recruited in the trial. We have published extensively. I think that is another important thing that we need to get all of us need to get a more credibility that we just publish and at a mainstream conferences. So we have published in 2 major peer-reviewed journals, number of presentations we made in a society meetings. So we have done that. We have significant IP. So we have 4 patents. One is issued, 3 are in different stages of approval right now. We have a trade secrets like everyone else. And I think preventive precedent is a very, very powerful precedent. That drug was approved in 1941, a multi-agent drug, and FDA rejected every single generic application after that because nobody could actually figure out the exact composition except Pfizer. And so Pfizer continues to have a great run with that particular drug. As I said, we already have orphan drug designation. We already discussing fast track designation with the FDA on that one. And depending on data, we may go for a breakthrough therapy also. Finally, so we said that APG-150 is the first botanical drug that is orally given and based on a very sound principle evolutionary biology. It's just not that sufficient is a botanical in nature, but how we are putting the drug together is quite important. And as I said, as opposed to going after a single target or single phenomenon, it's going after apoptosis, modulates microbiome, stimulates the immune system by making it tumor hot, and then it works not only topically but also systemic absorption because there are also micromets in these patients. So it's a unique drug that we have developed. We have very good manufacturing and CMC. There are 2 companies I've worked with. They are top notch. They have been inspected by FDA, MHRA, DCGI, WHO, and so far so. I know there's some more work to be done in CMC before phase 3, but I think so far so we are good. Our goal is right now, I'm raising 10 million right now. I have some commitment right now. Planning to raise additional 40 million in a couple of tranches. One tranche would be great, but I think I'm being practical about it. A couple of tranches. And I think best way, I think in my previous life, I've done a public offering. And my feeling is that companies like us, if we can do a public offering, I think we should do it because capital markets are wide and deep, and there is opportunity, receptivity for all kinds of great ideas. I've spoken to a number of investment bankers, and I was told that the portfolio we have, the approach we have is quite unique. And under right conditions, if we can hit the street, it will be well received. And I think that is how I'm thinking right now. So this is what this amount of money would do. So 10 million will complete the phase 2A right now, which will allow us to file for breakthrough designation for a lead asset. Other drug that I didn't talk as much about it, but this is a very unique second one that you see, APG 157 with TMZ and TTF. That's a very unique approval from FDA. So FDA, gives you approval for compassionate use for a patient, but generally only at one patient at a time. Very rarely FDA gives you approval for a group of patients at the same time. So we got a very unique approval for FDA for direct treatment of a recurrent glioblastoma patient. And so that we're doing it. The FDA told us that we'll give you this approval. You can treat 10 to 12 patients, come back to us with the data, and then we'll work with you to chart out a path how to get the drug approved. So that's a very unique approach we have taken. Number 3 is combined with the bevacizumab, Avastin. Avastin has a significant issue with in a glioma. It barely works. It's about 3 to 4 months it works and then it stops. And we believe there's scientific rationale by combining our drug with Avastin. And so we are doing that with the Mayo Clinic and Buffett Cancer Center in Nebraska. And the last 2, we are still, we'll see when that will start. But I think one of them will definitely get underway. And the rest of the milestones that we think within important milestones that we can reach within next 12 to 24 months are listed on the right side. And for investors, I think we are feel pretty good. If we can do all these things, we can have a very good liquidity event within 24 months. So thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Doctor, for very impressive presentations. And so is this product you developed by your research team, or you developed based on traditional medicine somewhere?
No, we developed ourselves, but we took the cues from a traditional medicine. But so we developed, our team developed it.
Okay.
And somewhat in conjunction with UCLA. Okay.
And right now, what's your relationship with UCLA School of Medicine? And
well, they are clinical partners. So there are these people have a joint appointment at VA as well as UCLA. We are working with both, and so they are our clinical partners. So they are conducting clinical trials right now. As far as the IP is concerned, we own all the rights to the product.
I see.
I have a question. How much have you spent so far? How much have you raised thus far?
So we have no public declared it right now, but it's sub 10 million.
Okay. All right.
But you can imagine that these things, what we have done doesn't come cheap. So it was a fair bit of amount.
Yes. Okay.
It's okay.
Great presentation.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any investors here? Anybody else wants to invest? You're looking for it. I'll have to close the round as soon as possible.
Yeah. And are you have a firm timeline of starting phase 3 in your mind?
Phase 3, you mean?
Yeah. Or
so I think so we call pivotal trial, not necessarily phase 3, but pivotal trial phase 2B or phase 3. I'm thinking sometime third quarter of next year.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Steve, I thought you said.
Oh yes, no. I was I think as an orphan drug, that's a very interesting path. That this product. Am I muted?
No, I can hear
you. Hear me? Okay, great. Yeah, I think the orphan drug path is a very interesting path that this product has taken. I think the head and neck cancers. I think that was a very astute focus in terms of how to position your drug for market success. And I'm going to look more closely at your milestones in terms of your capital requirements. But as far as I see from your slide, that's right in there with what you require at this stage. And we're looking to put together those type of funding packages. We're looking to put together a special purpose vehicle that can potentially fund up through phase 3 for 5 to 10 drugs simultaneously. And so your drug would absolutely fit that profile, especially given where you are in your clinical development, as well as some other products that we've seen here today as well. So it just underscores the need for us to put together that type of an investment vehicle in order to accelerate to market these products.
No, that's great. Steve, I have some ideas too. And I think I like to interact with you folks more, maybe offline. I have some ideas how we can not only fund our company, but also other companies, how we can pull together some resources and how do we go about doing that. Some ideas I'd like to talk with you guys offline.
Indeed, we'll follow up. Thank you.
Thank you. Great.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Any other questions? Okay. Then thank you, Doctor, so much for the time and the wonderful production
Thank you.
presentations. We'll follow up on this with you, at another time, later time.
Great. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Bye-bye.
Can I
Okay.
stay here and watch the rest of the presentations, or
I'm sorry?
can I stay here and watch the rest of the presentations?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, feel free to stay on. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Pass. Callum. Callum, you're on.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon. Let me set up my presentation here. Can you guys hear me well and see my screen?
Yeah, I see your screen. Yes.
All right, fantastic. So let me say that I am in Tampa, so we're dealing with a little bit of the aftermath of the hurricane. Hopefully, my connectivity is going to not be an issue. So just kind of bear with me. Unfortunately, my team was unable to attend, my team of scientists, because everyone's kind of fending for their family at this point. So in any event, I appreciate the opportunity. So let's get started. So my name is Caleb Williams. I am the CEO of Spray & Go LLC. We are a life sciences company powered by a new botanical anti-inflammatory ingredient discovery. We've set out on a mission to solve chronic inflammation. Guys, the World Health Organization describes chronic inflammation as the greatest threat to human health. We know that 1 in 3 adults worldwide suffer from chronic inflammation. Just the United States alone, you have 200 million Americans with at least one chronic condition. Chronic inflammation is the cause of periodontal disease, a condition that affects almost 4 billion around the globe. It leads to skin diseases, and it's modulated acutely and chronically from the foods that we eat. We know that in terms of prevailing solutions, we look at the NSAIDs and we see that almost 11 billion NSAIDs are consumed annually to treat chronic inflammation and pain. So what's the solution? What can we bring to market that gives chronic pain sufferers help them to solve their inflammation without the harmful side effects? Well, guys, in the late 1800s, my grandmother, Mother Skinner, discovered a plant ingredient on the island of Trinidad and Tobago that had extraordinary restorative properties. She would use this plant and she would blend the plant with other herbs and plants with known medicinal properties on the island. And this is how she would bring healing, because she was a community healer. This is how she would bring healing to the people within her community. And about 6 years ago, I rediscovered her remedy. My son, who is an aspiring soccer player, was invited to a professional tryout. And on the first day of the tryout, he suffered an ankle sprain. And if any of you have ever suffered an ankle sprain, you know it generally takes a week, sometimes 2 to 3 weeks to recover from an ankle sprain. Well, one of my big brothers happened to be in attendance, and he said, "Why don't we apply the family remedy?" My response was, "Well, what family remedy?" Well, as it turned out, my grandmother, who had 9 children, she only shared sources and methods with my mother. My mother has 12 children. She only shared sources and methods with my big brother, who happened to be in attendance. That evening, we applied Mother Skinner's remedy to my son's ankle sprain, and my son had an overnight recovery. He called me at 7 a.m. the next morning and said, "Dad, I'm ready to go." My response was, "What do you mean you're ready to go? Your ankle was completely swollen the day before." So guys, after witnessing what would best be described as a modern day miracle, I had Mother Skinner's remedy modernized, and we started testing everyone that we could find that had an acute injury. Everyone that we tested had a result, an outcome similar to my son. So then people started asking, would your grandmother's remedy work on my chronic, my neuropathy, my fibromyalgia? We said, well, we don't know, but we're willing to test. So over the next year, I'm getting some background noise. Are we okay?
I hear you, okay?
Okay, all right. So over the next year, we used SurveyMonkey for traceability, and we tested 200 chronic pain sufferers. 85% of them reported some level of relief. 70% reported relief lasting greater than 24 hours, where 35% reported relief lasting more than 2 days. Now, guys, at this point, I was a global financial services director at Citibank. And so while we were doing some pretty amazing stuff at Citi, we weren't doing anything that could impact lives, that could bring, healing to tens of millions. So I walked away from Citibank on a mission to help to solve chronic inflammation from the inside out. Now, 100 years of anecdotal evidence and an ankle sprain recovery is fantastic, but I knew we needed to back everything that I just articulated with science. So in 2018, I approached the University of South Florida in Tampa, shared the same story, and my company was accepted into their technology incubator. Met with a couple of scientists at the university, and they commenced the first set of scientific studies. The first study that was done was a study to isolate the fractions within the plant. And so we looked at the two main inflammation pathways, COX-2 and TNF-alpha. Let me just get my pointer here. So you could see that in the COX-2 assay, the results came back that there were 20 fractions within the plant that exhibited COX-2 activity. So we use diclofenac as the benchmark, and diclofenac is represented by the red bar. The blue bar is represents the natural crude, and the bar that I'm pointing to here, guys, was fraction O. This is the fraction of the 20 that showed the most inhibition in the COX-2 assay. So then we looked at the second main inflammation pathway, which is the TNF-alpha. And here we use vitamin E as the benchmark. You can see vitamin E is the green. Vitamin E is the red. And then the crude is represented by the blue bar. Now, if you come all the way over to the left, you will see that our fraction A suppresses TNF-alpha superior to vitamin E, which we use at the benchmark. So here we have this natural plant, which my grandmother discovered, and this plant not only inhibits COX-2, but it also suppresses TNF-alpha. And for those of you on the call, I am a banker. Most of you, I believe, have background in the medical space. So you will know that NSAIDs, while they inhibit COX-2, they increase the production of TNF-alpha, where my grandmother's ingredient, guys, not only inhibits COX-2, but it also suppresses TNF-alpha. So the next thing that our team of scientists did was we outsourced, the next thing that was done was a biological and chemical analysis to isolate fraction O, to try and isolate and identify fraction O. And you could see that by I think it was mid-2019, we had isolated the fraction, and the university actually declared fraction O as a new plant-derived drug discovery. Now, having isolated fraction O, my next ask to the team was, let's see how fraction O stands up against the prevailing solution for chronic inflammation. So we outsourced a study. And this was you can see from the screen, these were the results. So we outsourced the study to compare our fraction O and our crude against ibuprofen, naproxen, and diclofenac. And when we look at ibuprofen, we can see that our fraction O exhibits 139% more inflammation than ibuprofen, 31% more inflammation than naproxen, and was equal to diclofenac at a higher concentration. Now, let me take you through the details. All right, so in this slide that you're seeing, let me get my pointer. Fraction O is represented by the dotted line. This is fraction O COX-2. And then fraction O COX-1 is represented by the dotted white line. So let me start with those two. So you could see that the inhibition for fraction O of COX-2 was at 77%. And the inhibition of COX-1 for fraction O is at 38%. Now let's look at the crude. So you see the crude is the straight line, the straight yellow line, and then the COX-1 is the straight white line. And you can see here that the inhibition for our crude is at 67%, and where the COX-2 is at 39%. Next, we compared the inhibition of our fraction O and our COX-2 to naproxen and ibuprofen. Here you can see that naproxen is represented by the straight yellow line. That's the COX-2, and naproxen COX-1 by the straight white line. And you see naproxen inhibits COX-2 at 51%, where COX-1 is at 80%. And you see the same represented for ibuprofen. So if you compare the inhibition of our natural fraction O and our crude against naproxen and ibuprofen, you could see that our fraction O and our crude are superior inhibitors to ibuprofen and naproxen. On the next one to the right, we wanted to see how far, if we increase the ratio, and let me step back 1 minute, I forgot to point out. The concentration used was 0.012% of our fraction O and crude. And the concentration used here for naproxen and ibuprofen, you could see is 0.02%. So basically at 1/2 the concentration, our fraction O and crude was superior. So we said, okay, now let's increase the concentration and let's see how our fraction O and crude would perform. And so if we extended it out, you could see that at 79% COX-2 inhibition, that takes the COX-1 to about 49%. Okay, let me move on to the next slide. All right, so we looked at naproxen, we looked at ibuprofen, and we compared our crude and our fraction O. Now we wanted to see, how does our crude compare, our fraction and our crude compared to diclofenac? So let me start in the right upper block. So we know that diclofenac inhibits, is arguably, in terms of topical, the gold standard when it comes to inhibiting COX-2. So we see that diclofenac is at 97% and 95% respectively. Very, very low concentration. We wanted to determine at what concentration would our crude be equal to diclofenac. So you see that at 1%, our crude is equal to diclofenac. So now in terms of the summary of our findings, first row gives you the concentration, fraction O, our crude, naproxen, ibuprofen, diclofenac. And then second row and third row gives you the percentage of inhibition. Okay. All right. The next thing that we did was we also conducted a set of bioassays to look at antibiotic activity, antibacterial activity with our crude. Now, I mentioned that in terms of COX-2, we identified fraction O as the superior inhibitor. In terms of TNF-alpha, it was fraction A. Now we look at the antibacterial, and we see that fraction A is the superior inhibitor here. And then we see fraction O once again. But similar to COX-2, where there were 20 fractions that had activity, we're seeing multiple fractions with activity as an antibiotic as well. Now, when you have a natural ingredient that it's a superior inhibitor of COX-2 to ibuprofen and naproxen, it suppresses TNF-alpha, it has antibacterial activities. It means now that you have an ingredient that can make all different types of products. So we know that our ingredient could be used to make, for example, home care products, wound care products. We also had a fascinating discovery back in 2021 that we discovered that our ingredient also prevents muscle soreness. Guys, there's no product or device on the planet that has ever been tested to prevent muscle soreness. Because of given time, I won't go through all the details and how we made that discovery, but suffice to say that we created an in-market product after making a proof of concept product after making the discovery. And we took the product to the running community because we wanted to do a real world study to find out if our product truly does prevent muscle soreness. So over the course of the year of 2021 into 2022, we worked with about 100 endurance athletes. And so we had people running Berlin, Boston, Chicago, New York Marathon. And these people came back and reported that they had minimal soreness after running half marathons and marathons. That's unheard of. So we then commissioned a clinical study, a placebo-controlled study at the University of South Florida with the aim to test the hypothesis that if you use our in-market product, it would prevent muscle soreness. And so 66 endurance athletes were recruited. The criteria was they must run at least 25 miles per week. And you could see they were placed into 3 different groups. A group that used, 22 of them were placed into a group that used our product, 22 were in the placebo group, and 22 were in the control group. Well, guys, you can see here that the group that used our product, their muscle soreness never exceeded mild, which is 1. And if you compare that to the control group, you could see that they had soreness. Now, we didn't achieve statistical significance. So a subsequent study is in the planning phase where we're going to double the size of the study with the aim to achieve statistical significance between the Relieve It group and the placebo group. But what this does now, it allows us to launch a new brand of products this fall that is the first product ever to solve muscle soreness. Now, I mentioned at the onset that I left Citibank, set out on a mission to solve chronic inflammation from the inside out. Well, today we have fractions, we have topical products, we have a topical extract that, or an extract that could be used to make topical products. So we're able to help chronic pain sufferers by, with products that apply topically. But how do you solve chronic inflammation from the inside out? You have to then evolve to a mixture or a solution that can be ingested. And so what we've basically proposed is a project whereby we take the natural fraction O and we remove the inert, the deleterious chemicals, with the aim to create an optimized mixture that can be licensed, right? So if you think about the fact that our current fraction O, our current crude, is superior to the prevailing solutions for chronic inflammation, if we were to create a mixture that could be added into, products across every vertical, we truly then can impact the world and help to modulate chronic inflammation from the inside out. I believe that this type of a mixture truly could be unlike anything the world has ever seen. Our business model is a licensing model, because I believe that this is the way, and let me say this. The long-term goal would be to take our ingredient, go through all of the different phases of testing in order to have our ingredient approved as an API in the future. But that pathway is probably 3 to 5 years. And so if we're going to help to solve chronic inflammation, I believe that the path of least resistance is one where we create a mixture and we license this mixture across every vertical, as I mentioned. I will tell you that in 2021, we had calls with 3 of the biggest pharmaceutical companies in the world, and they're waiting for us to complete the mixture. So our business model is a licensing model where we want to take our mixture, and as I said, we want to license our mixture to CPG companies, big pharma companies across every vertical, so that in the next 5 to 10 years, our ingredient is in every food and beverage and essential oil, personal care, oral care, skin care, herbals, you name it. I believe that in the next 5, 10 years, every household across the globe could have a product made from our ingredient. And if we're able to accomplish that feat, then truly we would have met the objective, which is to help to modulate chronic inflammation from the inside out. Here's what we've done in terms of intellectual property. We filed PCTs for muscle soreness, for joint pain, skincare, cosmetics. Once we've completed the mixture, our plan at that point would be to file additional patents where we actually control the IP for the plant ingredient. So we've also filed a global PCT for the molecule, which we've labeled SG178. This is the fraction O molecule. In terms of financials, we are seeking $500,000 in an angel round, and this is for us to complete the mixture project that I described. We believe that once we have the mixture in place, by 2023, we can begin to generate royalty payments. I mentioned that we had calls with some of the biggest companies in the world, and they've already, some of these guys have expressed interest. So we're confident that once we've completed this mixture, we will have a first licensing deal in 2023. We think with our licensing deals, with our royalty payments in the next 10, 15 years, we can offer, 10 to fix, in the next 5 years, I should say, we can offer 10 to 15% ROI on the $500,000 investment that we're seeking. If we look at our revenue forecasts, we think that we're forecasting that we can generate about $10 million in revenue by the end of 2023. And if you extend that out to 2027, we think that from revenue, from royalties, we can do north of $100 million. By 2032, I believe that the market value for our ingredient could reach north of $10 million. When you look at natural ingredients, whether it's aloe vera or CBD, we see the trend shifting towards increased usage of natural ingredients, the value of natural ingredients. You can take any natural ingredient from aloe vera to CBD to curcumin. These ingredients are all doing extremely well and projected to increase exponentially in the coming years. The difference with those ingredients and what we have is that we have an opportunity to control the global IP. And so if we do some of the things that I described, creating the mixture, filing the patents for the mixtures, in the next 3 to 5 years, completing the necessary testing, getting approval for the API, we can truly control the global IP for our ingredient. So I don't believe that the $10 billion forecast is a stretch. Let me just quickly run through some of the members of my leadership team. Vidya Mike is our CFO. She's based in the UK. Dr. Anthony Campbell is our compound pharmacist. Michael Paplin worked with me at Citibank for a number of years. Dr. Bacon, Dr. James Leahy, science advisors from the University of South Florida. And that concludes my presentation.
Great, Calvo. Very wonderful presentation. You are the only one of all the presenters who not only have talk about the product, but also talk about very important aspect, which is financing the project. You talked very logically, very well, I think you cover both the herbal medicine, the medicine, financial, and IP, and very well knowledge, and it's great presentation. We all learned from you in many of the aspects that not others have thought about hardly before. Thank you for that. So you mentioned making a mixture and put an IP on that. That's very interesting. We all want to learn about what a strategy, because when you file IP, do you have to disclose the ingredients? Once you disclose ingredients, everyone can reproduce that. How do you make sure that you own an IP at the same time preventing from other people copying you?
No, it's a great question. Thank you for that. So the idea is to create a mixture using the fractions with the most activity. And so we plan to file patents for the process to create the mixture, because that has never been done. And so if you patent the process to create the mixture and all of the resulting therapeutic benefits, then you truly have control of that process.
That's wonderful to know, and a very smart idea. And I'm very intrigued by that, and I'm sure others too. So I'll hold on my other questions, let other people to ask.
Yeah, so it's a process patent is what you'll have. And how about the raw material supply chain? Is the raw material available worldwide, or?
Hold on, sorry. I just realized that my video was off all the time. My apology for that. Yeah, the raw material is available. We can currently supply about 150,000 kilos a month. But the idea is to not have a dependency on the raw material, but if we create a mixture, then 95% of the mixture would be produced in a lab. And obviously it accomplishes a couple of things, right? So in terms of sustainability, we're being more eco-friendly, but more importantly, we reduce our dependency on the raw material.
So if I understand correctly, this Parag, you identify this fraction and then you plan to make the fraction synthetically. I'm assuming fraction has more than one molecule in there, right? And you would synthetically produce that?
Yeah, no, so there's a couple of different options. So creating a synthetic is what I describe as the long-term path. You create a synthetic, you perform the testing, and in 3 to 5 years, you get approval as an API. The path of what I describe as least resistance is one where you create a mixture, and that mixture allows you to begin to generate revenue in the short term. You create a mixture and you can immediately license that mixture for things such as dietary supplements, cosmetics, etc. And so so it's multiple pathways to get to the end state. We think that the mixture keeps it natural, by the way, right? So you have one pathway where you have a natural mixture that's licensing. You have a second pathway, which is the you explore SAR and you create that synthetic, which is your longer term. We think we can do both. So if we have the right collaboration partners, we can create the mixture, and in parallel, we're working to create the synthetic.
No, I understand that. Okay, that's very helpful. But even to initially create the mixture, you have to extract from plant. Do you have sufficient supply of the plant to?
Yes, yes, we do. We can produce right now. We can import about 150,000 kilos of the plant every month.
Wow.
Now that's not sufficient to supply the entire globe.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we want to create a mixture that we can then license that mixture to our partners, and they create the mixture in their own laboratory.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
Okay.
Great.
Thanks for the question.
Very intriguing and very interesting.
Any animal toxicity has been done for ingest for taking as a supplement or something like that? Any toxicity study?
Yeah, so I will tell. So we reached out to both the EPA and the FDA. So the EPA has says that it has low toxicity, and the ingredient is actually used in food additives today, and has been used for thousands of years in Greece to make wines and other products. So we have no concerns about the toxicity.
Okay, that's great.
So it has GRAS status then?
It does not have GRAS status at this point.
All right.
Yeah, we will pursue GRAS after we've completed the mixture. I think there was a question, how do you define the quality of the mixture? Well, that's why we're actually on this call today, because we're looking for collaboration partners. We want to we've got a couple of options. So we've outsourced some of our studies to CROs in the past. We're looking for either CRO or collaboration partner to help us to develop the mixture. And so my team of scientists have laid out a strategy in terms of what we need to do but we're looking for a partner to help us to create it.
And is the plant native to United States or Trinidad, or it's grows anywhere in the world?
The plant is mostly found within the Caribbean.
Well, excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah, really good, because we all learned from each of others, and together we'll make the process more efficient and more sustainable. Great presentation.
And truly, and I guess, guys, I truly appreciate your patience. It's been a trying couple of days here in Tampa. I literally just walked into a hotel room and sat down to do this presentation. So appreciate you guys hanging in there and working with me.
Thank you for spending time.
Caleb, David Allen, we'll get back with you for sure.
Yep. Thank you for that, David. Any further questions?
What will you use the $500,000 for?
I'm sorry, what, Steve?
You said you were looking for $500,000? You said you were looking, how much capital you said you were looking for?
$500,000. And
right. What will you use that $500,000 for?
Yeah, we're going to use the $500,000 for this ingestion project, to develop this ingestible solution.
Okay. I just had some meetings last week with FAMU and with the School of College of Pharmacology and Pharmaceutical Sciences. And I think we may be able to, we may be able to work with you on this, because I know they already have some relationship with USF, in Tampa, with the University of South Florida. I think they have so we'll follow back up with you on this.
Okay. All right. Let me just make a note of that. Appreciate that.
Great.
So let me also add that, and so we've kind of focused today on the mixture and so forth, but I also want to mention the secondary opportunity, which is around muscle soreness. So muscle soreness is a 40 billion market, and all of the solutions for muscle soreness, guys, they all treat symptoms. Okay. And so I would love to have anyone who may have an interest in exploring further an investment to help us launch this brand of muscle soreness products. I will tell you that 2 weeks ago, we presented our product, in-market product, to the coaches, the Dallas Cowboy coaches. The head coach of the Cowboys has serious back problems. And most of the coaches, they're former players, so they all have all kinds of chronic issues. This was 2 weeks ago, Saturday. By Monday, they reached out to us to ask for additional samples, because the coach, McCarthy, used the product, and for the first time, he didn't have to put drug products into his body or suffer for 4 hours on the sideline. By Monday, one of the coaches reached out to say that they want to put together a proposal so that they can get our product to every NFL player and franchise. So when I walked you through the slides, I took you through just some of the anecdotal evidence and some of the research that we've done. We truly have a special and ingredient. It is an unbelievable anti-inflammatory, and so I would truly appreciate and welcome the follow-ups. Steve mentioned the potential collaboration with FAMU, working with the team from USF. And so not only do we have a novel ingredient that could truly impact the lives of tens of millions, but we also have this unique opportunity to launch a brand, right, that has never been launched before. solve a problem with chronic with the muscle soreness. So again, would love to further engage with any of you that would have an interest in exploring how do we advance the mixture project, and if there's anyone who has an interest in partnering with us to launch this new brand for muscle soreness, that would be fantastic.
Again, great presentations, lots of positive feedback, and very good business models for many others to learn from. We inspired. Thank you again for your time. Well, as others said, we'll follow up.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Good presentation, Caleb.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
All right.
Caleb. Keep
Get back
safe.
to the home. Sorry?
Keep safe.
Yes, thank you. Yes. Got to go back, check on my family now. All right.
All right.
Okay, so the next one, I just want to give a time check. So this will be second to the last presentation, and this one will be a FDA pre-IND application that, Dr. Ho, are you online? Dr. Ho, we can see your slide, but couldn't hear you. Dr. Ho, we can see your slide, but we cannot hear you. Can you unmute yourself? We'll just wait a little bit for Dr. Ho to unmute herself and give us a presentation about a product she developed in her clinic, and through the discussion with FDA, become a product for treating COVID. Dr. Ho, you're still muted.
Can you hear me?
Now we can hear you then. Good.
Now you can hear, right? Okay, let me come. There.
So this will be the
Okay,
second to the
let's
last
see.
presentation.
Okay, can you see me now?
Yeah, we see you and see your slide. Thank you.
But I cannot find, sorry, I cannot find my slide right now.
I saw your slides on my screen.
But
Yeah.
I cannot see,
Oh,
see my screen. Okay, I cannot see my screen.
you need to minimize the Zoom meeting on the right corner with the minus sign. Okay,
Mhm.
you stopped sharing your slide.
No, that doesn't work.
All your slides, right? It's
Yes.
here, right.
Right here.
Mhm.
Um,
And then go back to the.
Get back here. Oh. Mm-mm. Right. Yeah. Okay, now go back here.
and then-
Dr. Ho, you go to the bottom, there's called a share slide, share screen. You click on that.
Can you hear now?
Yes, we see.
It's working, right?
Yeah, it's working.
Okay, great. Okay, first of all, I'm gonna introduce myself. My name is Wenju Ho. I'm CEO of All Natural Medicine Clinic, LLC. Our mission is to find the patent to treat different disease and under the cells level. And so that's why today, thank you, Dr. Liu, giving me the opportunity coming here. You sit on this platform to discuss our research in treating different disease under the same treatment law. And today I bring the topic is the structure and function of cells are the key to heal disease. The disease, every disease happens on cells level. How can we restructure of the cells, damaged cells. That's the key to bring us for success. And before the presentation, I will tell you, we will bring some questions here. Who has a responsibility to aim for different viruses, including COVID-19 and mutated virus, and the cold virus and the flu virus, and how we can fix and regenerate the damaged cells in the body, no matter what kind of system they are. So today, begin my presentation, I want to bring some clinical patients discuss here. Then we can understand more how Chinese medicine works. That's different with conventional medicine, but it's on the basic fundamental medicine of cells level. First of all, I bring the patient who has diagnosis with primary pulmonary hypertension, PPH. Also, she developed with lupus, and her fingers, you can see, as necrosis. The doctor suggests her to sort it out, clean it out, get surgery. But this young lady, who is computer science and a pianist, she cannot have without fingers. She called us 5 years ago because we successfully healed patient with same condition with her, PPH. She gave us some information. At that time, she was paralyzed, sit in wheelchair. Her life no long can last. And at the same time, the doctor suggests her give her pump 24/7, inject fluoride to help circulation better in the lung, to try to reduce the pressure in the lung, to maintain her life well. And when Chinese medicine kicked in, her lung pressure dropped, gradually going to the normal range. At the same time, her finger fingers getting healed, keep the access, and also her lung pressure going to normal, and also her lupus under control. Her fingers kept well. Now she back to her normal life. She worked in the computer field. She also played piano in the church. So we can see, we do not know the patient is caused by the infection, lung infection, or the patient who has a gene mutation. So our target is the pathology states inside of the body. So we don't care it's from the infection, lung infection, or gene mutation. Get a success report. Her lung pressure is in the normal range, and now she also can use her finger like a normal person. So then next patient, we can tell this patient who has a gene mutation. That's what we can see here. It's called PACSI, and this mutation caused the patient who has a seizure when she was 1 year old. And she daily has seizure and cannot speak at all. And also she has combined with PPA. And this case, and no medication can control the seizure. So her parents bring her to come to us. So that's why, because we published our book, regarding to how Chinese medicine treat autoimmune disease. Her parents realized that this gene mutation also related with autoimmune disease, then bring her to come here when she was 3 years old. Now we give her Chinese herbal medicine and help her the inflammation under the suppression. She is able to go to school. And the longest day she has without the seizure, 18 days. She's continued to get treatment here. She's toward to better. And she can pay attention on the people who talk to her. Before she can't. So the nervous system seems like going to recover during the recovery. So you can see we are not focused on the cause of disease, but we do focus on the inflammation level. Here, this patient is diagnosed with breast cancer stage 4. That's also affected her bone and the lung. And her sister bring her information coming to us. It is that time and didn't tell us what is the condition she has. But it is that time she already failed chemotherapy treatments. And she is waiting for last stage. And at that time, her sister said, oh, we don't want you to do anything. We just can maintain her life better. But past the years treatments, her cancer antigen, that's 53, dropped and continue to drop down on the Chinese herbal medicine treatments. And initially her antigen was over 800 and recently went down to the normal range. And her sister came back the day before yesterday and tell us and her antigen is still in the normal range. Here we can tell. And the cancer patient, it's tough, the treatment right now, but we are not focused on the cancer cells. We are not treating the cancer, the antigen, but we focus on the inflammation to control the inflammation and the patient getting better and better. The lifestyle came back. This patient I want to discuss, yes. The patient we know who has hepatitis B infection. In November year 2019, her doctor already tell her, not her, she has to receive liver transplant because the doctor have nothing can do for her. Her condition got worse and worse. She is in the line to waiting for liver transplant. In the January year 2020, her husband received treatment here, asked us if we can help her, the liver condition. I told them, yes, our final research in China is hepatitis B. We got a successfully treated, heal it, and we came into America to publish our research in NIH. We are able to do it. That's why she bring her coming over to receive Chinese medical treatments. At that time, we can see the virus is very high, and it's no medication can inhibit the virus, drop this number down. And at that time, her liver function is performed here. That's already get a treatment several times. And in the end of the month of January, liver function already dropped. So at the same time, in the end of the January, her doctor informed her the liver is available for her. Ask her to bring the stuff to go to hospital. That day, at night, she will get a liver transplant. So the blood work came back. It's every information and inflammation data dropped. During the pandemic, she think if she got a surgery, she need to take time to recover. And at the same time, maybe she will get COVID virus infection in the hospital. That's why she delayed the treatments for liver transplant. She continued the herbal medicine treatment here in our clinic. Now we can tell her liver MRI, that's, it's already hard, become ceramic. In the 1 year later, in March 26, year 2021, you can see her SGPT, SGOT almost going to normal. And at the same time, the virus title is dropped. It's very good results after 1 year, just 1 year treatments for her. And here it's tell the MRI, her liver situation. It's also getting better. And the year 2022, January, it's after 2 years medical herbal medicine treatment, you can see AKP, it dropped to the normal range. That means cirrhosis is already gone. SGPT is in the normal, and the SGOT just a slight high. And the important things here, we can see HBV virus, it's dropped down to the normal range, lower than 10. It will be great, but she's still in the list to waiting for liver transplant. But if her AV data go to normal, because her doctor worry about her to develop it to liver cancer again. But every information is in the normal. And also we have checked AFP, alpha AFP, it's in the normal range. It's do not worry about anything here because the cause of the virus already dropped and also liver function go to normal range. Here we need to say any disease we just can cause just 3 reasons: infection, lung infection, and injury. No matter what kind of disease you name it, you find it, it's all in the 3 categories: coronavirus infection, and that's variant virus infection. Doesn't matter how they mutate, but what we will do, we will answer first the questions: who has a responsibility to enforce the virus? We know that. In the fundamental medical theory, tell us immune system function is have 2. Externally, to cure every kind of germ, bacteria, and virus to protect our body well. Internally, to enforce the mutated cells like cancer cells to protect our body well. But since now we lost these points, now we just to do research with kind the drugs can cure the virus and what kind of drugs can cure the cancer. So very busy on it. We lost the basic fundamental medical series. So that's why through our research, we try to bring our series back on the table. Why immune system cannot function well externally to cure virus, including the coronavirus, and internally to cure the cancer cells, because the reason is inflammation. Different cytokines cause the problems. How we can realize different cytokine to inhibit the inflammation, to make the immune system to function well, to achieve the patient life back, to reduce the patient suffering. That is our research. We are very widely to research in the clinic, try to find the pattern of the treatment law between different diseases. That's why, first of all, we follow the conventional medical diagnosis, the disease, to treat the disease with medical herbs. Then we find the pattern of the different disease. We try to find the pattern, but we achieve it, we find it, the regular pattern in treating different disease. That's why we can see different disease you diagnosis, but we treat it on our treatment law to lead patient, every single patient get a success. So here we can bring some information here. This table we will tell in the earlier year 2020 and the year 2021, we treat a patient who has diagnosis with COVID-19 positive, PCR positive, and some patient they checked it PCR negative. So seems like a different virus can cause the same symptoms in clinic. We do not know the viruses, but we know the inflammation where they perform. And we just suppress the inflammation, the cytokine, that's different virus causes that have a same pathology states. We target it to the same pathology states, solve the pathology states in different infection patient. We get the same success. Here, the story is just different diagnosis is COVID-19 or variant virus, or the patient who got infection with virus we didn't know, but they perform the same pathology states. We just inhibit the different pathology cause the cytokine, and we stop cytokine storm, and the symptoms get released first, and the patient who diagnosis with COVID-19, the PCR get negative in 10 days, 7 days to 10 days. All symptoms relief, that's about 1 day to 3 days. So here we check that the patient who diagnosis with coronavirus, and 59 patients, 100% get healed in 1 to 3 days. And 7 to 10 days later, they back to check CPR. The CPR, all of them went down to the negative. No one have the side effects of rebound. So here we can tell the medical herbals, it's not targeted to different virus. We are not research what kind of virus caused the infection, but we targeted to the pathology states. Different pathology states, we use the different treatments. So in the clinic, we cannot follow conventional medicine. It's under the virus infection and random to treat the patient. That we realize that we have to depend on patient who has a different pathology states, follow the pathology states, treat it, get 100% heal, get success on the pathology states. It's not diagnosis with now modern medicine. So we just talk about coronavirus infection. What is long COVID? That's infection caused autoimmune reaction because the infection triggers the immune system. Immune system react to the virus. At the same time, the immune system will find the mimic antigen. It's like similar with the virus or similar with the antigen of the cell damage. So in these points, we check the 27 patients in the clinic who diagnosed with long COVID with the different symptoms, different system joined it. What we are doing, how we can help all the patients to go to recover role. That's we check that the patients get success in the clinic and effective, it's 100%. But that's the heal. Its heal rate is 25%. Oh, 92%, I'm sorry, 92%. The reason that we have 2 patients who has asthma attack, also combined with body pain, or joint pain, muscle pains, and other patients with the color of skin changes, become darker, and the pigments deposit on the face, neck, and the legs. 2 of them during the treatments read out of inhaler, but 1 patient still has pain in the muscles and the joints. And the other patients, the skin color is lighter, but it's not completely to go to normal yet. So that's why we cannot account both of the patients go to heal rate. So that's why our heal rate is 92.59%. They have 2 patients didn't get success yet, but that's effective without inhaler intake, and also the asthma attack is gone. So now I need to introduce our products, Botanical products, and what we focus on to treat patients to get healed, but it's not follow conditional medicine, what kind of virus cause the disease. Because we are not cure virus, we are not able to cure any kind of virus, the bacteria and the cancer cells either. But we targeted to the inflammation that the body shows up, no matter it is coming from external infection or internal cancer mutation. First, we introduce the virus infection, and that's also we'll tell again, because it's not regarding to the virus, coronavirus, or mutated virus, or flu, or cold virus. But we need to target it to cytokine. And when the inflammation initially infected the up respiratory, and then we can use pure info 1. Inflammation start now. And also we can use pure info 2 to target the fever. the patient who has a fever and high fever, chills, then we can use such kind of products to help the fever down. And Purine 3 that will take care the lower respiratory system infection, difficult to breathe, and the infection in the lower respiratory. And the next one is Purcell. And when virus infection that can trigger the bronchi unsensitive or through sensitive tried coughing. And such kind, the Purcell will help to control the coughing symptoms, to reduce sensitive of the throat and the bronchi inflammation. And the next one is Purflow. This one will target to, we know that when we have inflammation, the cells could be perform different pathology states. And when the cells necrosis, that perform a lot of phlegm, and either way block in lower respiratory system or through the bronchi to bring the phlegm out. How we can control the cells necrosis and release the contents in the body internally or in the bronchi. We can use such kind of medical herbals that's called a Purflow that can relieve and clean the metabolic quicker, faster through lymph system to clean the product out. Then patient will feel can breathing better and reduce the cough or phlegm well. And the next one is Purcell, because when we have an infection, the infected tissues around the central infected place or circulation will be blocked and affect the circulation to continue send the fresh blood to go to local to help the tissues regeneration, recover, the inhibit the inflammation. That's called clots. And such kind of herbals, group herbals will help to reduce clots risk and help circulation better, and to solve the problems who patient who has the poor microcirculation. So that's the herbal medicine for the coronavirus. It's not a single herbal medicine. It's not one to random to cure the virus, but we depend the virus perform internally and a different cytokine, and we suppress there to get a success. So that's why our experience is it's not random, use the one herbals to help everything, to cover everything. Okay, why that? Because that's what need side effects there too. Then I will introduce next one, that's Botanic for the long COVID, and potentially that's also can heal not long COVID called the organ fail. That's what we explained before. That's the treatment pattern to treat a different disease. It's not only long COVID. Potentially, medical herbal medicine can treat all the disease. The reason is we have to target to the pathology states, because no matter the virus infection, bacterial infection, or germ infection, or internal, the cancers or autoimmune disease, but that everything perform on the cells level. In the acute infection above, we have to suppress the acute cytokine to stop cytokine storm It's one way can save the inflamed cells recover and the symptoms reduce. We introduced previously. The symptoms reduce in 1 to 3 days, quicker, faster, immediately reduce the symptoms. And then the PCR will last 7 to 10 days, reduce the immune system, get recover to retrieve the goal to clean the virus out. And here we introduce the long COVID treatments. We are not just focused on the diagnosis on the conventional medicine or lung damage or liver damage, kidney damage, or someplace damage, but all we combine them together because that's have a law, treatment law between treating long COVID or long COVID. And now I'm introduce here, we know when the cells damage, inflamed, that can perform different the type of cells. One is like swollen, and other one is fat, and then that's apoptosis or necrosis, and the cell die lesser. And we know that when the cells perform and the swollen, and we need to work on the ATP to pump the water and fluid from the internal cells to go out, then that cells can perform and function well. Doesn't matter. The cells, it's neuron, or liver, heart, lung, kidney, because they are different organelles, but that's the same of the cell. We just perform structure of cells well, they can perform their function back well. So that's why we are not focused on the diagnosis with conventional medicine, we diagnosis with Chinese medicine diagnosis and follow the treatment law to perform to treat different disease. So such kind of treatment law also can fit treating long COVID too. We successfully treated the long COVID. Okay, previously we introduced the products of per weight. It's for cells perform with swollen. No matter where they are, that's the group of medicine can perform well. And the next one is per fat. It's the cells perform, become the fat change. And the fat tissues inside of cells, the cell cannot perform and function well, like long COVID, or you can see the overweight hepatitis, the that's okay. Okay, for different disease can be performed the fat tissue, fatty change. And also next one will be pure apple. That one focuses on the cells perform apoptosis. You know, the people getting older, the cells shrunk. Apoptosis in the earlier stage can be recovered. And this kind of herbals for the long COVID, the cells perform apoptosis. In the earlier stage, we can return them back to perform their own work. And because the cells still have function, but that's just didn't perform completely. So such kind of type of pathology change we can use per apple. And here is per fall. Because this one, herbal medicine, if you remember, we also use for the people who got coronavirus infection, because that's the cells perform with necrosis. When the cells perform the necrosis, we know we cannot form them back at all. But we have the quick, faster to make system to absorb the contents of damaged cells and debris of the cells from the lymph system to clean it out, to help the patients, the condition and the symptoms reduce. And the new cells able to regeneration to recover the dead cell. And then we can see this, we target on the cells that is become antigen of the infection or immune reaction to damage it. Perform inflammation, such kind of inflammation maybe as chronic cytokine. We on the antigen level, we can change the antigen to go to normal cells, will reduce the antigen perform cytokine, chronic cytokine to stop the cytokine and communication with the immune system. That's a heal disease, the first step. Second step that we needed to do to internal environment, because when the cells necrosis will damage internal environments, that will become the new antigen to trick the immune system to attack it, cause new inflammation in the body. So that's what lead the disease to become chronic and difficult to get healed. So on these points, we need to do as absorb the needed lymph system to absorb certain antibiotics and quick, faster to clean the internal environments to help the cells stay well. It's not be affected to cause more inflammation to damage new cells. And the next one, that's also, we will say, when this inflammation performed in the certain organ, that's microcirculation will be affected and maybe cause clots and cause the disease got worse. So everybody remember, previously, we also have the same group herbals that's called perchlor. That's also performed to help reduce clots, to help blood flow better, to nourish the damaged tissues and send immune cells to go to local to aim for the virus or the damaged cells. That's become the antigen. And the next one, we need to talk about the cells communication, because these parts always be forgot by conventional medical treatments right now. Nobody mentioned about that. There has a communication in the cells. For example, when the cells inflamed, that will talk to the immune system. Immune cells will enjoy such kind of the inflammation process, cause the problems no end of the day. So how we can break down the chain of the inflammation? That's we have to join the communication in the cells. And for other example is our longest nerves in our body is vagus nerves. We know we have 12 central nerves in the body, but the important thing here is vagus nerve. That's 10 central nerves. That's connected everywhere, immune system and endocrine system and digestive system, every system connected. And in these points, we can introduce you of the per-info, because the cells and that's performed antigen and trick the immune system, attack it. And how we can suppress and between the cells communication, we block this communication. That's the herbal group we decided here called the per-info. And this one is different with the previous, that's acute cytokine. But here it's chronic cytokine, they trigger the acute cytokine internally. So that's why we can block the cells communication list the function here, perform here. And the next one we will introduce of the product name is called small leaf. The reason is the cells, they have communication, and so many patients in the clinic after infection that's perform depression, anxiety, insomnia, bipolar, or any kind of disease you can list it. How we can block that's communication, and that's called upper stream. That's the neuron that also can perform inflammation, can perform like a swollen edema and fat tissues and also apoptosis. And however, we can see how we can use the medical herbals to block the antigen. They are performed in the neuron. And then also we can adjust the 10th central nervous that's called use that small leaf, and to make the 10th central nervous function better. That's what connected with downstream of the tissues. For example, here we introduce of heartburn. We know that heartburn causes that medication we use block the acid producing, but the patient still have uncomfortable symptoms. But we need to know that LES, lower esophageal sphincter, that cannot function well. Who controls that? The 10th central nervous. And now we work on the upstream for the inflammation and control, and also we can make the 10th central nervous function better. That's what direct the LES closing and solve the problem of the stomach reflex in 2 seconds, because the nervous system have such kind of fast function, and like while to work function well, immediately stop. And so now we can introduce such kind of the product here, infection, non-infection, and also we can tell what is the pattern between the infection and non-infection, and talk today. So I checked that out with the mechanism of medical herbals. We can tell here antigen is coming from external or internal. External, including coronavirus, mutated virus, and cold virus, and the flu virus. Germs, bacteria, all called antigen. Internally, when the cells inflamed, have inflammation there, that can perform different type of the cells condition. That's also become antigen of the body. And also here antigen, including cancer cell, that's mutation in the body, nowhere, any place. And also the antigen, including antibodies, that we are said the cells damaged or clots the microcirculation. Such kind of antigen can stimulate our adjusted T cells, right? And then either way, go to left side, cause inflammation, B cells, and either way, to go to right cells, we control the inflammation well, that the T cells will be performed well to interfere antigens, including the virus and internal, the cells, it's necrosis. We cannot form them well. Okay, so that's also kind of antigen because that's perform different cytokine. That's what we needed to know. Conventional medicine already realized that it's difficult to treat it, but we already perform well in the clinic, follow the treatment law. Doesn't matter infection from external or internal inflammation. because we just realized what kind the cytokine it is. We will stop the cytokine storm, we will save the leaves well. And here we also can tell, because so many people will say, oh, the medical herbal medicine, herbals will have so many side effects that has heavy metals and damage organs. Here, we checked in the clinic, and you can see here, all heavy metal is negative. No one positive. Okay, heavy metal is negative. Do not worry about heavy metal to damage our organ. Any kind of organs, no heavy metal there. And also we checked the patient's the organ, kidney, still function well. They have no any side effects to the organs either. But I need to remind you, because if you didn't follow treatment law to practice in clinic, if you just follow random diagnosis by the conventional medicine, you will fail. The reason is different pathology states there, we different with cytokines. That's why the fail and side effects from there. It's not from herbal medicine itself. Okay, today is a presentation, all the research in my past 40 years that I checked on treatment law to perform here. If you have any questions, welcome. You can talk to me. I can answer every questions you have. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, Dr. Ho. Thank you for a very thorough presentation to hear. So the question to you, what's the FDA filing status?
What? I cannot hear well.
Yeah, do you hear me okay now?
I try to get the, I can hear you. I can move the,
Can you hear me?
yeah, very mild.
Very
Okay.
mild.
Now it's better.
Okay, am I
Now
talking
it's
better now?
Yes.
Okay, so what is the status with FDA regulatory filing?
Oh yeah, we submitted to the FDA, and FDA came in here to send the PhD coming here to check our clinic, and all the documents they said is fine, not a big problem, then we can run, but we just need to see CDC, CMC. That's called CMC, right? So
Yes.
we need documents because I'm not used to that process. So that's why the FDA sent my clinic research to go to study department. So that's waiting for the next step. They can prove it and get rid.
Okay. Steve, you want to say something?
Very, very thorough presentation. I like the results. And how much capital are you looking for to move forward?
You know what? Because probably let's need 3 million to get both of them, because we need to buy the herbal medicine, and also we need to check the clinic data. The reason is in America, I have no right to prescription for patients to send them to lab, because we have to use the third place to offer the information give to us so we can check on it. So
Okay.
that's why we need to hire the doctor and the lab to perform the lab work.
Okay, where is your clinic located now?
Oh, we are on the Rockville. That's Maryland. It's
Okay.
4801 Randolph Road.
Yeah, right outside Bethesda. Okay. Okay. Very interesting. Yeah, we
Yes.
will. Yeah, I'll be curious to see your business plan in terms of the financial plan and your requirements and the business plan for moving forward. So you have not so you're looking at an IND for what, a phase 2 with the FDA or
Yes.
phase 1? Phase 2, exactly. Mhm.
And because we submitted the application to go to NIH, and initially, and 2 years ago, NIH, they have no herbal medicine department. They
Right.
closed. They said no, we have no any research on medical herbal medicine. So I told them, hey, here has such good results. Why do not research? Right?
Right.
I just submitted the grant to them, and they review it. They said yes, we need it. We submitted there, and then they proved half of them 50-50, initially. And initially they said, oh, such good things. She's very experienced person. We need to fund her. And then second, the people that said, no, she has no lab at all, and we cannot check it, we will waste the money. So that's why, and stopped there first. And then I said, okay, we can submit the grant for long COVID. I know that have nothing can do that work well except that me. I realized that in the past 40 years, I checked it. I can give them a lot of data. So that's why I submitted there. And because they still have no herbal department in CCIH. So they just send it to me email. They say, oh yeah, you can submit any kind of the grants anywhere, but if we need your contribution, you have to come back to contribute to us. So that's why I didn't give comments, so that's very special. Nothing happens.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't know, ask everybody why that happens. They said, no, it's very special. And then I checked there, nothing that happens. Then until they send information to me in the July, they said, hey, you didn't know such kind of grants yet. I tell you, such kind of grants is revolution, including everything. You can split there. And if you don't want to live well, you go to this one. If you want to get a step by step to go up, you can check this one. So I said, okay, I can stop there. I submitted 1.5 for, I just submitted in the September 1st. And so I'm waiting for them to report to see, come back to us, because we are still triggering the clinic.
Interesting. Roger, you working with her?
Not yet. We just know each other, and we're looking forward to at some point visiting her and to talk more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just like talk about CMC, so I contacted to him, Dr. Lu, so that's why I just know him. I didn't see who he is, what he look like. Oh, handsome, huh?
Indeed.
Before. So just contact too, because you see what? Because initially we practice in China, and we use the conventional medicine both together. My specialty is the digestive system, immune system. So I tricked the patient. I find something potentially they have connection, between different disease. I applied grains in China. They said, oh, young people, you don't have to so aggressive, you know what I mean? So you have to one step by step to research. Okay, I say, okay, how old then I will get, then get the points. So I live there, go to NIH, then that's why, to research by myself. Okay, it's finished?
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Ho. And any other questions?
Oh.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Any other questions?
I was going to ask her, Roger, about her work with.
Interesting, we can collaborate together to find more security of heal disease, because all the system different with the conventional medicine, but conventional medical theory can prove my theory.
Right. Very, very, very interesting hypothesis. I like it a lot.
Yes, and Dr. Ho,
Thank you.
David Allen, so you're having success with liver cancer, and also how about sclerosis?
Sclerosis, yes, we do have success. ALS, also we have success case too.
Stage 4.
so
Have you had
this is
success?
the-
Have you had success with stage 4 sclerosis?
Sclerosis now, so because it depends how many patients come in.
Okay.
You know, we have not so many patients come in, then we cannot perform. You know, so that's why we widely treat the different disease. Then we can the get the information in, then we can, you know, to perform, you know, to do there.
Very good presentation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you again, Dr. Ho.
Okay.
So the last presentation is the presenter cannot come. He sent the slide to me, so I'll present for him. It's going to be short, about 10 or 15 minutes. So it's called a Immune Boost. It's herbal medicine, that dietary supplement marketed in the US and in China. And they want to take that into the botanical drugs development pathway. And so again, it's a 6-herb product. It's a soft gel capsule with 2 times per day and a 2 capsule each time. Increase white blood cell through the enhancing immune system. The history is a dietary supplement marketed in the US and China since 2018. Great safety profile and promising efficacy data and empirical evidence. The current status is the sponsor, they financed the pre-IND application with FDA, and the FDA approved they're going into the IND process, but asked them to supply the animal toxicology data. So they're looking for funding to do that toxicology study to move forward.
Okay.
He picked a few data points, the repeated dose on weight. You can see that they have a control, a low dose, a medium dose, and a high dose. In terms of weight gain, it's all same. It's very similar tracking from week 5. And so in terms of dosing, the control group is cooking oil. The low dose is 385 milligram per kilogram per day. The medium dose is 770. The high dose is double that, 1540. So that did a effect on tumor size and inhibitor rate in the S tumor bearing mice. You can see that the average tumor weight, so the high dose would have much higher than that. The mixed group is this immunoboost plus something else. But I told them that this mixed group doesn't have any, cannot go through the FDA botanical drug definition because FDA doesn't allow you to add a single compound into a mixture. So the mixed group is not, but the company would have to go through either high dose group or medium dose group. In terms of average inhibitor rates, the high dose rate has the highest, 43%. And then they did another study on the lympho index, cylinder index, white blood cell counts, etc. on the mice. You can see that it's a control group, low dose, medium dose, high dose, and those the dosage. And in terms of index, it has a highest 3.41, highest 8.36, and high dose, that's supposed 11.48, and 7.93. So the high dose exhibit the highest efficacy in the tumor-bearing mice. In terms of CD3, CD4, and the CD7 counts, you can see that it's a treatment group versus a high dose group. So because there are cancer mice, so the CD4, CD7, CD3, they all decrease over time. But you can see that the compare with the treatment, compare with the control group, the treatment group has smaller decrease in terms of CD3 and a smaller decrease in terms of CD4 and a smaller decrease in terms of CD7. It is the Another comparison is of the incidence of neutropenia and other side effects between the two groups. You can see the therapy groups and the control groups that all start with 60 mice. And going through the treatment, you can see that incidence of neutropenia for the treatment is 30%, for the control group is 55%, and for the platelets that not decreased is a 15% and 30%. It's significantly lower than that. And other toxology profile on the repeated dose are present in the document in the FDA filing in terms of table 10, 11, 12, 15 that did very much repeated dose toxology profile on this product. It's all seen, showing to be safe and etc. The potential elevating white blood cell is a mechanism of action with profound potentials to treat many diseases. We know that when your immune system get down, you tend to get disease of all kinds. So the idea, if you can enhance your immune system, you're supposed to fight on cold, infection, cancer, and other chronic conditions. So there can be many indications based on this one, even though currently they're targeting on the white blood cell count increase for that. And we know that in the US FDA filing for cancer drugs, you don't have to cure cancer. If you can extend patient's life for cancer patient significantly, you will get approved on the market. So with the idea of increased white cell counts to fight cancer, to extend life, it can potentially become a anti-cancer medications and can target for all kinds of cancer. So the potential is huge. Because they increase the white blood cell counts, it can fight acute infections, maybe COVID, I don't know, but based on the theory, it might be, and for other immune deficiency diseases. So the mechanism of action of improving, elevating the white blood cell to fight disease is a profound mechanism of action for the product. So the company did the pre-IND filing last year that got FDA letter to accept they're into botanical drug applications, but at the same time asked them to redo the toxicology data because the toxicology data they did was many years ago from a Chinese laboratory in mainland China. And US FDA want that to be done with a certified laboratory in the US. So they right now they're looking for funding to do that project so they can move on to phase 1 clinic.
Mhm.
So that's their presentation. And since they're not here, so I won't take any questions. I just basically, and recap what we did this time. So we reviewed, this is the first botanical product show. And the idea, as we all see that, is to, that's a chat. Okay, let me see.
Okay, know each other, huh?
Okay, yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Lu.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
So I will stop here, and again, the show is to allow the botanical sponsors like each of us and the financial side to connect, because we know that the biggest hurdle is to get product funded to be developed. And we, through the presentation of the products, people start to understand the potential of botanical drugs and start to build up interest, and hopefully, they have a collaboration down the road. And with that, I want to turn back to the audience. Steve, David, Dr. Ho, Dr. Paraga, and also the wonderful person, I couldn't pronounce your name, so many wonderful questions, Semi Raga.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, yes. So, so this is kind of a show that we produce here. So give each us the, understanding your product and the financial potentials. And we open the show to the general public. Hopefully people with a time conflict will be able to view those shows at a later time, convenient. Once we receive any request for your product, we'll follow on with you and send that to you so you can connect with them directly for efficient discussions. So Steve, David, any other questions, any comments?
Yeah, I think you put together a great panel, a great cast of companies with products and researchers. And Roger, and I think you're absolutely right. We're going to follow up with a number of them. I think there's some potential with financing in terms of working together. I think this like I say, coming together is a start. Keeping in contact is progress, but working together is success. And I think we'll find some ways to be able to work together and help some of these companies actually advance their products.
I have one question, okay? If you can answer me. Because Chinese medicine, if we follow the drug to do, it will be failed. It's botanic drug or botanic that words will be different. I was thinking probably that's become the drug, botanic drug. We have to go follow the FDA to go to animal test, and also you showed that. And sometimes the model you create for the animal is not equal clinical patient because fundamental pathology change will be different, totally different. That's I raised the questions to FDA too. I told them they have not category of Chinese herbal medicine at all. Because Chinese medicine, it's not drug type. We did, so many clinic work. They try to go to lab to go into animal test. Difficult to get a success.
Yeah, it is a big question that but I think the botanical drug guidance is a giant step forward on the FDA side in terms of accepting herbal medicine safety and efficacy, right? 15 years, 20 years ago, it's impossible even for herbal medicine to be considered as drugs. Now it is possible, but the process is long and difficult, and sometimes maybe applicable to the botanical nature. However, I think FDA is pretty flexible. If you look at the earlier presentation, Lianhua Qingwen, they have 11 herbal products in that capsule that went through all the process. They passed the preclinical, they passed the quality control. They've been finishing the phase 2B now. They're entering the phase 3, about to. We have another botanical TCM product that entering the phase 3 right now. And so it is difficult process, and some of the process particularly difficult for botanical products. But again, I think through the discussion and scientific exchange with FDA, they're willing to listen what's the more applicable role to move a product forward. So we just need to find, a very scientific rigor way, because they want to control the risks of approving new products into the system, right? Yeah.
Right.
So, but they do have something, in their mind. For example, if a mixture can be approved as a drugs, if they're safe and efficacious, why not allow other people to adding things, as long as the added mixture is still safe and efficacious. So some rules has been relaxed, but not completely applicable to the herbal medicine. Some of herbal medicine has metal and has animal parts, And those formulas are not qualified for botanical. So unless it has been traditionally used for thousands of years, which you have evidence to prove. Otherwise, for new formula, strictly plants mixture, no animal parts. You know, so the funding is the most. Dr. Ho, if someone telling Dr. Ho, you have $1 billion research funding to develop a product, you have no problem. You can spend the money to generate all the data FDA require, right? To push the drug forward. The challenge is all related to the fundings. It's not related to the product itself.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, well, that's my opinion. Anyone else? Feel free to.
Thank you. Great. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So, any other questions? Okay.
No, I think so. One question.
Go ahead.
All the slides that showed during lunchtime on a botanical drug guidance and things like that, will those slides be shared?
Oh, yes, I can share the slides. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Great, everyone. So it's late at the day. Thank you for staying for so long, and thank you for your interest. And we'll you know, it is live stream on the YouTube channel, and we'll put on the link on the website as well. Allow people to review and to study. And I will put the discussion slides, which I present on the association website as well. So welcome your comments, and hopefully we're working closely together in the future, and we'll have another event sometimes later this year or early next year. And through the presentation, I learned a little bit of something, you know, because the product have different indications and the different audience have a different interest on different indications. So maybe the next time we'll organize by therapeutic category rather than a broad indication presentation. But we'll think about it, and we'll come back to each of you, and you know, we'll do another great presentation sometimes in the near future. And I want to
Good. Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you.
I want to particularly thank to
Good job,
Steve,
Roger.
Anand, David, and everyone else. Take care. Have a great day.
Thank you, Roger.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Roger.
Yeah.
Bye.